Previously on the Heroes of Providence Eternal Genesis Trilogy, your band of intrepid heroes awakened from a nightmare of your dear friend, the elven priest, Sister Ari, being abducted by a shadowy dark force. You received an urgent summons to the floating arcane city of Sanubis for a clandestine meeting with the wise founder of the city, Father Geno. He informed you that Sister Ari was last seen in the Hoti desert, traveling north to tend those wounded in the Centaur Wars, when her caravan was ambushed, and that a contact in the distant Hoti desert awaited you. With the blessing of Father Geno's skilled Templar commander, Sacris, as an escort, you made your way to the port of Sanubis to board Captain Tumult's ship for passage through the dangerous seas. After choosing the northern route, avoiding the dangerous Torrent Maw and ominous sea monsters to the south, your approach alerted the northern dread pirates of Brigands Bay, unleashing the wrath of Captain Skinner Deatheye's savage pirate crew. Through bloody battle, you successfully repelled the pirate forces and befriended one of the pirates as a new recruit. Sailing on, you finally arrived in the desert elven city of Tulumasha Port, where your contact, Seth Notisha, invited you to his home and revealed you would need to intercept a nefarious informant in the market the following day, possessing clues to the whereabouts of Sister Ari. After many false leads, you successfully identified and interrogated the informant, revealing the location. Braving the relentless Hoti desert sandstorms to the ominous Obelisk of the Lost, you discovered a secret passage that led to an underground chamber. Triggering a trap, you barely solved the riddle before being consumed by the sand and unlocked the ultimate passage within. Finally beholding Sister Ari, chained, suspended above an arcane soul engine draining her essence, you battled monsters formed of living sand and caught her just before she fell to her death. Now with Sister Ari's life hanging by a thread, you begin your quest to a mythical holy place legends whisper may be hidden deep within the savage Pore'hu jungle, as your only hope to grasp Sister Ari's life from the jaws of death.
My name is Donald Durham. Hobbies include long walks on the beach. No, I'm just joking. Hobbies include very many projects, bird watching, and hockey. I actually work for the International Space Station on a flight controller there under the Ethos branch. And I play Armando.
A boisterous human titan from the steampunk city of Protencio, Armando craves action. He travels the world, driven to shield the weak and exact justice upon tyrants.
Hi, I'm Sam Wilkinson, father of two, a biomedical tech. Been playing role-playing games for many years, and I play Kaz in Heroes of Providence Eternal.
A mysterious arcanist hailing from the Verdelven forest, his childlike optimism conceals far more than meets the eye.
My name is Heather Mesha, and my favorite hobbies are canoeing and mountain biking and horseback riding and growing orchids, and hiking is probably one of my favorite things because I love to adventure and explore the world around me. And developer of the character named Issa.
A keen elven archer raised in the Whispering Plains, she yearns to bring light and life to the world while protecting the innocent from the ever-encroaching evils of the realm.
Hi, my name is Kyle Ware. I like to write and game a lot. Board games are a big passion. Console, PC games, all that good stuff. Weightlift, listen to music and podcasts. I play the Pardus in our adventures.
A devout Molten Reaver priest, born deep under the volcanoes of the north, he has sworn paternal care of the mysterious young elf Kaz as he tries to uncover the mystery of his own beloved father's disappearance.
I'm Jared Pearson. My favorite hobbies are probably tabletop games. Dancing is another one I've really gotten big into in the past year or two. Taught myself guitar over YouTube, you know, modern era, woohoo. And I play Leo Kinvelox.
A cunning feline lean-on rogue, born in Pore'hu jungle with keen eyes and sharp blades. He has a heart to fiercely defend the persecuted and make evil fear the shadows.
I'm Jonathan Reichel, the founder of Heroes of Providence Eternal and the lead developer. My hobbies, I'm a big gamer. You can kind of understand that being that I created a game. I enjoy graphic design, beatboxing, vocal percussion.
Oh yeah.
traveled 6 of 7 continents, including kind of a life goal of visiting the Shire and New Zealand, where they filmed The Lord of the Rings. That's kind of a mecca for me. 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo. I trained in Taekwondo for about 12 years, and petting my cat. Quidditch does require a decent chunk of loving. The Legend Master is essentially the lead storyteller and the referee of these games of Legend. The Legend Master, or LM, is responsible for telling the core story. If you are the Legend Master, think of this as a way for you to bring the best out of the people that you're playing with, and find a way to create the moments that are dynamic, engaging, and that will truly last in your hearts, minds, and memories for years to come.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our 2nd episode of the Heroes of Providence Eternal Genesis campaign. We are entering Chapter 2, The Fount of Living Waters. Da-da-da! The hype is real. All right, so before we get going, I'm assuming that each of you have thought of your special ulterior motive for this particular episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our adventure begins now. So in our last exciting episode, we were in the Hoti Desert. We just were barely able to rescue our beloved sister Ari from the obelisk of the Lost. Just a few minutes after you completed our last chapter, Sacris is carrying Sister Ari with his mighty strength outside into the heat of the sun, and each of you still have your pack animals and the creatures that you used to travel from Tulumasha Port all the way to the obelisk of the Lost, so you have a chance to mount your beasts. Sacris takes a moment to go ahead and cast a light levitation upon a wooden sand skiff, a wooden platform that he's able to lay Sister Ari upon, because he does not believe that she would be able to survive the journey if she tried to hold on to a creature the entire journey. And he's going to be sitting on the skiff with her, pulled behind a few pack animals. And with this, you begin your journey south, past the Valley of Visions. And as you continue moving south, you travel through the sand. It's extremely hot. It's extremely arid. Sacris is desperately trying to kind of fan, and with the help of V, the two of them are taking turns, shifts through the night, desperately trying to pour healing life into Sister Ari, and she's barely on the brink. She is so close to no longer being among us. As he's doing this, Sacris looks over at Armando, and Armando, you're on your mighty steed, leading the charge in front, and you glance back at him. He beckons you over.
I'm going to ride over near to him.
Excellent. He has not slept for the last day or so. He's been constantly vigilant, constantly watchful, and he just needs a moment speaking to a brother in arms, and leans into you between fanning and trying to tend Sister Ari, looking you straight in the eye, and he says, "You fought with great might, brother. You honor us with your presence. What first made you pick up the shield?"
Well, it was Sister Ari herself. She nursed me back to health at one point. I was in a big battle, and I was there lying on the battlefield about to die, and she attended to my wounds like we're tending to her wounds.
She indeed has helped me in similar ways through my history with her, and I truly do owe my life to her as I owe my life to you from our most recent encounter.
How did she help you?
For the years that I have known her and the battles that we've faced, I would have died 100 times over if it were not for Sister Ari being there for us in our time of need.
Fitting that we can be there for her at this time then.
In that moment, he raises his buckler that covers his fist normally. He manifests a shield of light, and he presses that to his chest, saluting you.
I'll take my slightly less cool shield and press it to my too.
He locks eyes with you, and though he seems very pained emotionally and physically from the journey, you provide him a moment of encouragement that he so desperately needed. So the pack animals that you are utilizing continue to travel, rolling into evenings, and you can see that you leave the south of the Hoti Desert here. You notice that the sand starts changing. It used to be kind of a golden, beautiful, picturesque glow, and it's shifting into a very dead, very toxic sand that is salty, and it starts biting at your eyes when the wind comes through.
You notice for the first time, Kaz actually keeps his shoes on, V.
I thought Kaz didn't like wearing shoes.
He does not.
A little salty for you?
It does not taste good.
Let it be known. As the sand starts changing into the salt, you travel about half a day. V and Sacris are endlessly trying to pour health and life into Ari, who is looking worse for wear with each passing moment. And as you round the corner of these salt pillars, you round the corner and you see this fella.
And you kind of gaze up at him, and he is a 7-foot-tall insect. You indeed have entered the realm of the Simex'id salt hives. The Simex'id are an insect race that are kind of mysterious and tend to keep to themselves. And he looks at you quizzically, and he seems to be holding something in his hands. And I would like for all of you to roll a d6 to see if you recognize what he's holding.
I know what he's holding.
Ooh, okay. So Kaz, you don't see at all what's going on. What are you doing?
I'm probably picking sand out of my shoes.
Freaking sand.
I'm like walking like straight into him.
Exactly.
I'm not even looking. V probably has to grab me and pull me back.
Pulling you back.
Don't even realize it.
Keeping him on track.
That's right. So V, you definitely see all that's going on. And what is it that you do, V?
Well, I'm just kind of distracted because Kaz is, got dirt on his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But I take a really good look at that and be like, hey, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at that thing in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to figure out, decipher it. Does it have some words on there? Trying to decipher if I can read anything on there.
Excellent. So for those of you that rolled a 5 or a 6, so basically everyone but Kaz is super into sand at the moment, and everyone else is very keen and very aware. You've been vigilant the entire time, and you see that he seems to be holding a firework. It's something that's lit up, and some cultures have moved into the realm to firework technology, and this guy seems to have lit one, and it's got a fuse that's maybe 10, 20, 30 seconds. It's burning down, and he's looking at you nervously, and he's looking at himself nervously, and you have a moment to react, those of you that rolled a 5 or better.
I know what I'm going to do.
Okay, Issa, you get to go first.
Okay, I'm going to jump right in and say, whoa. I've actually interacted with these people before, and they're actually very shy and very introverted, and they make the best fireworks in the realm.
Mm.
What do you mean you people? Oh my God.
What do you mean, you people? So,
I just noticed the mantis.
I was pay attention.
Took him a solid minute.
Keep looking.
The Simex'id glances at Issa as Issa approaches, and he backs up a little bit, kind of in fear. And in that moment, all of you receive a projected image into your thoughts. This creature does not speak verbally, doesn't make a chittering sound or anything, but he projects an image into your thoughts, and it's an image that gives you the impression of go away, or I mean you no harm. So he's trying to communicate with you with images in your mind.
Is it okay if I tell them the rest of what I know, or should I just...
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So the Simex'id that I encountered was actually a younger one, a lot smaller than this one. And she used an image to beckon me to her because she was running away from cyclones that happen across the salt flats. And her foot was jammed between some rocks. So I've picked up on the image and actually came to her and helped her out. And she was ever so thankful. And I actually wound up going away with a whole satchel of these amazing fireworks. They usually take them up here and they only come above ground to really test the fireworks and see how they paint the sky. So I wonder if we back up a little bit, if he will actually try it and like throw it up since it's burning down. I don't want it to hurt him.
Wonderful. So with that excellent intuition, it seems the Simex'id is glancing between you and between the firework that's about to explode.
I scamper and run behind V as fast as I can.
And
What do you
scamper
do,
up
V?
onto V.
I give him a pat on the back and be like, all right, it'll be fine, buddy.
Excellent.
You got this.
Very good. So Sacris seems to have some experience with these guys before, and all he does is he backs up and he holds up his shield. Just it manifests, and he's just simply trying to protect Ari, who's lying on the sand skiff.
Shield block.
Yeah. Do you also raise your shield, Armando?
Yeah, shield block.
Excellent. So Armando gets out in front of you heroically, and he's protecting you from what could be a devastating blast. So this Simex'id, his eyes kind of widen, all 700 of his little eyes on those little nodules on his head. He sends an image into each of your minds that is the most beautiful flower you've ever seen.
Ooh, I want to see that.
And you get the impression that this Simex'id may have seen a flower this pretty once in his life. And it's an extremely rare thing. So he's hoping to give you the best memory he has of his life, to try to calm you and to give you the best of his heart in this moment. He kind of nods at you, and then he turns around, and with these mighty clawed mandibles, he expertly articulates an adjustment on this firework, and you see some runes moving around on it, and he throws it up into the heavens. And as the sun's kind of setting behind you, when this firework explodes in the sky, The salt flats are covered with the most beautiful image of 5 heroes that he assembled with this, and they look sort of similar to you, kind of colored in a way that's similar to you, and it paints the entirety of the sky in this gorgeous visage of the most heroic company that you've ever seen. And the salt flats being shimmery and almost mirror-like, it paints the entirety of the ground for miles around you, mirroring the beauty of this image that he wishes to gift you as you meet him. You gaze up into the sky, and this firework just explodes and moves and shifts in beautiful ways, and he looks back at you, and the flower that he's put in your mind starts blossoming as he tries to give you another word.
Aw, but he doesn't seem threatening at all.
I guess we're not going to sneak up on anyone in these desert lands now.
No.
Do you say that out loud?
Yeah.
Okay. The Simex'id kind of looks at you and chitters a little bit, not as if he's trying to communicate with you, but just like he's purring and just kind of enjoying the moment. And with that, he hears something off in the distance, and his eyes get wide, and 2 other smaller Simex'id walk up that are different colors, and they kind of nuzzle up against Papa here, and they all look up at the sky together as they enjoy the moment with you, and then they kind of scamper off underground, and he bids you goodbye. And the last thing that he does is he sends a message into each of your thoughts that is a single petal, that as the flower dissipates, a single petal floats to the ground and just starts glowing beautifully as it dissipates to white, and then your mind is clear again.
That was beautiful.
So with that moment with your pleasant Simex'id friend, you continue traveling. As the darkness of the night passes and you start moving towards the early morning of the next day, Sakris beckons Issa over and wishes to speak with you.
I'm gonna go right up to him and look at him straight in the face and say, "Yes, sir, what can I help you with?"
He has not slept the last 2.5 days or so, and he's just parched and desperate, and he speaks to you and says, "You seem to not be affected by this heat. I've been melting since I landed on shore. My kind are more used to mountains and snow. How do you manage the scalding lands of sand so well?"
My people, from what I know, are originally from these desert lands, and I've traveled enough on my own to pick up small things that help me, like these wild berry drinks that I got originally, and that's why I asked, would you like one? They'll help with your thirst.
You can see he's almost coughing out salt and sand. He looks very disheveled. He's been tending his beloved friend for 3 days straight, and he reaches out with a quivering hand and takes this from you, and you can see in his eyes a deep and abiding appreciation as his depressed face is warmed for the first time in a few days, and as he drinks it, some of it, he starts coughing some of it up because he hasn't had nourishment that he's needed. As his hand shakes, he starts to regain some of his strength as he siphons more of his healing energy into Sister Ari, and he says, "I will not forget this kindness. Thank you."
I'm gonna come over kind of as he's coughing that and thanking her. Sakris, could I help you in any way? Do you want me to help you with Sister Ari at all?
Yes, please. In order for me to cycle the next healing into her, I will require the assistance of someone that still has strength, and I fear that that will not be me.
Yes, of course, take whatever you need, for I owe her my life.
He hates to do this, but he extends kind of a priestly hand to you, and he says, "I fear this may hurt."
That's okay.
A single tear comes down his face as he recognizes he's about to hurt someone that he cares about, and he starts siphoning some of your health, some of your energy away from you, and you can feel like 100,000 needles prickling all over your skin, and you can feel your chest starting to tighten in on you. He smiles in a torturous gratitude that he feels horrible about what he's doing, but he's thankful for your willingness to do this, as you can see this beautiful white light energy come out of your chest into his hands, passing through his shoulders, and then going directly into Ari. And Ari, who has been unconscious for days now, barely breathing, breathes deeply. And she rests slightly, as you can see a little bit of color restore to her, but you can still see that her lips are chapped and her ears still have dried blood on them that continue to effuse. But you have indeed helped Sister Ari and breathed literal life into her by your willing sacrifice.
Ari, hold tight. We will get you there soon. Just hang on.
And her eyes flutter open just long enough to gaze into your eyes, and she's so drained that she's not able to speak, but you can see that the terror and torture on her face softens slightly as her lip curls into the softest of smiles, and she thanks you wordlessly.
Is there a way that would V need to rest too? Could V and Sakris both rest and we lead their pack animals so they can actually sleep?
V, what are your thoughts?
Yes.
All right, and v has been alternating with Sacris the entire 3 days, and neither of you have gotten much sleep. You've been alternating, and you're both fairly desperate for rest. So V, if you wish, there is room on this 10-foot long, 7-foot wide skiff that if you wish to rest, it sounds like that Sister Issa would be willing to guide your pack animal as you finally get some desperate sleep.
Step in on that.
Definitely.
Rotate with her.
Definitely. Armando, would you be willing to lash Leo's pack beast to yours?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
I would like to say that at this point, Kaz probably looks just as bad, even though he hasn't given up any energy. He probably looks just as dehydrated as they do.
Definitely.
He's just like, it's so dry here.
Sacris looks at his water jug and sees that it's still empty, and he looks at Issa.
It's a little different. It's more like pure spring water. Would that be better for you?
Pour it on my shoulders.
I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna open it up, and it's a clear, silvery spring water, beautiful and untainted in any way, and it's from deep, deep within the earth. So I open it up and I take it and I pour it first on the right shoulder, and I tip it up, and then I pour it on the other one, and I take my time to kind of make sure that your shoulders are deeply saturated with as much as I possibly can put up there. Does that help?
Yes, he looked wilting a little bit, and now he seems to be kind of expanding out to normal-ish. It's really good at retaining water, but it's so hot here and so salty.
It doesn't seem like that is very easy on one of your kind, although I've never seen one of your kind before. Where are you from?
I look at V.
He's new here. Let's say that.
Sacris glances over and says, "You look similar to a Verdelvin friend I once had. Are you from the Northeast?"
Very close to there.
Fascinating.
You could say I'm more south.
Interesting. I have much to learn about you, my friend. And for the next several hours, now that Sacris finally has a moment to not actively be in charge of Sister Ari's healing, he has a moment to speak with you, Kaz. He breaks out 2 crystalline chalices, these very tiny shot glasses, very similar to the ones that were used in the Owl Inn back in Sanubis, and he offers you a glass of the most beautiful crystalline liquid you've ever seen. He seems to have been saving this for a very important moment, and he wishes to offer you a cleansing drink. He doesn't prefer alcohol. He wishes to offer you this crystalline glass that seems to be glowing a beautiful white. What do you do?
Ooh.
Is that water?
My dear friend, this is far better than anything that could come out of the ground. I offer you the very finest that I can. His hand is still quivering from his exhaustion, but he hopes that you will join him in this moment.
I will probably look to V before accepting it, but I'll probably accept it then, as long as V doesn't say no.
It doesn't seem like anything you should worry about. It's not alcohol, so.
As a priest, you know that the beverage that is being offered, it's an incredibly sacred liquid that would be used in holy rituals and powerful rejuvenating powers, and it's extremely expensive. It would cost a month's worth of Sacris's labor to save up enough for a chalice of this quantity of this liquid, and he's offering it to Kaz.
That's why I tell Kaz, don't spill any.
Oh, okay.
And savor it, and savor it.
Savor it. Very, very carefully.
Remember that meat we found? Like that.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And his hand is still shaking. He's trying to steady his own hand, kind of to pay respect to you, Kaz. And he says, "There is much more that I wish to learn about you, my young friend. I offer you a toast to our health." And he clinks glasses.
All right. I very clink. I'm like trying not to spill.
Excellent. He very slowly, he doesn't chug it, he savors it like the finest of wines. As he does that, the parched nature of his lips and the blood that's been pooling on him from previous battles starts to cleanse a bit, and you can see his feathers start to kind of expand. And after the 3 days of torture in the desert, both you and he seem to be rejuvenated in a way that you both desperately needed.
Ooh.
You can't tell it, but I'm sleeping because my mask is keeping my eyes hidden.
Exactly.
Hey, Kaz.
Hey,
I wouldn't trust that Issa too much.
Oh?
Yeah, you know how willing she was to pour all that water on you?
Yes.
Well, I think I saw her eyeing those mushrooms on you during our last journal.
Oh, these? She should eat these.
Oh, I think she wants to eat them.
Oh.
Yeah, the entire last journey.
Reaching out for the smack.
Kaz will nervously like try to do it like inconspicuously, but flip his cloak around so the mushrooms are on the inside.
And I'll just leave Kaz after that. So, and
Just stir up trouble and walk away.
It was a sensible warning. He saw what was going on. Points to you. So that was excellent. Armando, I would like to reward you with an inspiration dice for combining knowledge of lore and something that's relevant to the motivations of the characters. So Armando, round of applause for our warrior, observant warrior, Titan tank.
And also, as I gallop away, my banner is now kind of covered a little bit more in black. So it's about 30% black.
Oh, wow. Interesting. The ribbon that's on your weapon?
Yeah, so I have a ribbon and it has a bunch of oaths written on it. And it was blue when we first started our adventure, and it's turned to 30% black at this point.
Oh, wow. Interesting. All right. So with that, the evening turns to morning, and you make your way out of the salt hives as you approach the Pore'hu jungle. And the Pore'hu jungle is a verdant, gorgeous forest, thriving and teeming with life, full of strange and eerie sounds that you've never heard before. And the light speckles in through the extremely tall trees, insanely tall. Redwoods are babies compared to these things.
Shoes are off.
Shoes are off. Finally. It's very wet. It's extremely humid. You're finally out of the desert and you're entering some humid lands. And in a moment, you hear an eerie silence, and all the creatures of the forest stop making noise.
Oh,
And I need for all of you to roll a d6.
Kaz probably gets weirdly feral looking almost, like his hair kind of stands up a little bit, and he's like, like what's
going on here?
Quiet.
Quiet,
Okay.
all quiet.
He draws a knife that you didn't even know he had. Like, you're like, where did that knife come from?
I said to put that
You had
away.
pulled that out this whole time.
That could have helped. Yeah.
Even when we were fighting people.
Excellent. So that's exactly what happens for you, Kaz. Issa, you rolled a fantastic 6. So you hear in the distance a boom, boom, boom,
I hope that's not what I think it is.
boom. Peering through the trees 50 feet above your head, you hear a and a mighty Dreadosaur bursts through the trees, crushing mighty limbs. And all of you have but a split second to dive out of the way. Everyone roll a d6 as you are chased desperately through the jungle.
Into its mouth.
All right. Ooh,
I've seen this scene in Jurassic Park.
Oh man, okay. Kaz, is that your new roll of 1?
Yes, sir.
Crap. Okay. So Kaz, your hair was a-fluttering, and in the craziness of the moment, this massive 40-50 foot tall Dreadosaur, reaching all the way down for you, catches you up near his claws and swipes at your beast. You did not get out of the way in time, and grabs your mount, and you are tumbling through the air. Your beast that you are riding on gets pulled into the jaws of this thing, and you are flying through the air, upside down style. Forward, and all of you are desperately moving forward at 40-50 miles an hour, and this thing is just boom, boom, boom.
You hear me yell, "No, not Jake!"
And Jake, is that the name of your mount here?
Yes, that is now.
All right, so Jake indeed gets sucked up into the mouth of this mighty creature, and he shreds it into 1,000 pieces and gulps it down, and Jake is very, very dead. Goodbye, Jake. As you're continuing to sprint forwards, Kaz is flying through the air. You have a chance to act first. What do you do?
I'm going to flip around backwards on my tiger, and I see the Dreadosaur coming. And the first thing I'm going to do to tell everybody is scatter. If you could scatter, it can only follow one of us, and if it follows me, fine. I know the jungle better than you people, at least from what I know. You may know it better than me. And I'm going to immediately take a quick shot to it, just to try and get its attention and lead it away.
Okay, go ahead and roll it out. Let's see how well you do.
11 damage right straight to its face. I'm trying to aim for its eyes to blind it and get its attention to get it away from everybody.
All right. Your arrow finds rich purchase in its right eye, and it reels up in pain. Rawr! But it continues boom, boom, boom.
I'm going to yell out loud, "Armando, help!"
And that's exactly what needs to happen next. Armando, you have a chance to go.
probably separate from the pack too, just like she was doing.
Okay.
And I'm going to call out the champion's roar. And what I'm trying to do is trying to get its attention. But I also will heal up everyone, even though they're all healed, and also cause more damage.
Very good. So with your mighty champion's roar, everyone else will indeed deal more damage for the remainder of the round as you inspire them. As you do that, Kaz continues flipping through the air, and he is about to fall on the ground.
Somebody picks him up.
This pack animal right here starts slowing down a little bit, and as that happens, he is picked up by this mighty venom spitter. And the venom spitter pulls him 50 feet up into the air and makes him fall down on the ground. He's crushed under the feet of this mighty dinosaur that's chasing after
Thompson!
Thompson is so dead. He doesn't even have a chance. He is gone. At that exact moment, a fire belcher jumps off the back of this gigantic dinosaur and starts nosediving all the way up here, beelining towards Ari. It is V's time to do something.
All right. I feel like I need to save Cause.
When you look over, I'll kind of give you like a look, like I've got him.
You got him? Okay, so we lock eyes.
You're like right next to her, and I'm gonna like kind of do that, yeah.
Okay, we lock eyes, and I see like Cause flying in the air, and we exchange. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So I'll cast my Divine Inspiration on Cause to catch him in the air.
Excellent. Kaz, as you're flying through the air, there's no way that you'd be able to make it onto the skiff here. You're about to crash headfirst directly onto the ground and possibly die, if not get crushed by a dinosaur. But you are indeed at the very last second, right before your head hits a mighty rock that's flying by, you are caught right at the base of the skiff here, and you start levitating with momentum forward, and you are way up in the air over here. And V, you get to kind of help guide his landing a little bit as trees are whipping past him and smacking him in the face.
I go, Kaz, come towards me.
All right, and you can kind of swim through the air a little bit, Kaz, so you can move yourself to where you'd like to go now that you're levitated.
But that's where the dinosaur is.
Towards me.
It's there.
Here.
It's there.
He's a melee arcanist. It's a special thing. All right, so Kaz's life has been desperately saved by V's very quick reaction. Next up, Leo, you have a chance to act.
Yeah, I'm gonna use Sky Strike. Pounce upon my prey from a range, taking advantage. Aerial momentum, dealing 2d6 and +4 for each enemy I leap over. But I'm just gonna leap onto this guy right here.
Excellent. Go ahead and roll your damage. Let's see what damage you unleash.
That is 10 damage on that guy. Get up on my mount, like kind of jump towards and just kind of do a flip through the air and then land 2 daggers into like his back as I'm kind of like riding on him a little bit.
Very good. As you do that, you successfully slice off one of his 2 heads. And when you do that, I'd like for everyone to roll no modifier d6. Let's see, Leo. What happens is with one of these fire belcher's heads sliced off, an eruption of flame explodes out of his severed head, and this toxic goo that's on fire splashes onto all of you. And each of you take 7 points of damage. And feel free to calculate that with your defense roll. So you take 1 additional damage because you rolled a 3. So a total of 8 for you.
I don't want to.
Down to 22. All right. Kaz, you have a chance to act.
I'll yell, Sacris, put your arms out.
And he looks at you kind of quizzically like, He does indeed open up his arms because he trusts you, and you get to do something.
I'm swapping in spots with him.
Oh, it's happening! All right, so with that, in half a moment, Sacris knew everything you were trying to do. Your soul bond is right there as brothers. His mighty wings open up, and he is now the terror of the skies, and you are now the protector of Ari. And with that, Sacris does a triple backflip. He basically unsheaths his weapons. Instead of manifesting a shield and a blade, he manifests 2 blades that each have like a Darth Maul style blade on them, and he starts spinning them like helicopter blades up through the air, and as he's flying, he slices through this venom spitter, and it cuts off his tail completely, and Sacris ends up on the head of our terrifying Dreadosaur.
I say to Leo, I did not mean for him to be eaten. Let me just point that out right now.
Okay, I understand.
All right, Issa, you're up.
I see this guy coming after us, and I'm turning around to like evaluate where everybody is, and I see Leo's mount is here. I don't want it to get eaten, because if too many more things get eaten, we're not going to be able to make it to where we need to. So I swing around on my tiger, and I come back here and face off with the dinosaur. I want to go ahead and do my Savage Stampede.
Excellent.
This is like a do or die moment, and we're all going to die, and we can't have any more mounts die. We're never going to make it. Sister Aries going to die.
That's true.
So I'm going to call the creatures of the wild, focusing their might upon the closest 3 foes, dealing 3d6 damage, pinning minions to the wall for 1 round. Well, there's no walls around us. Can I pin them to trees?
Trees are flying by, yes.
So that is what I'm going to do.
All right. And you get to describe what 3 animals are called out of the wild to do this for you.
A raptor.
Raptor and raptor. A pack of raptors.
An Argentavis, which is...
And Chris Pratt comes out too.
This is kind of like a big eagle vulture looking thing that has gigantic claws that can like pick up anything.
Fantastic.
And then I'm going to hope and pray that the Phoenix will hear me and come to aid. It might not.
Excellent. Roll me a d6. Let's see if the Phoenix shows up. Phoenixes are super rare. Okay. That is good enough that indeed a 4th creature, a Phoenix, shows up.
Just for the record, that's a raptor, an Argentavis, Chris Pratt, and a Phoenix, right?
Chris Pratt, yes.
Sure.
Specifically Chris Pratt.
Trying to count that. That's how you got the 4.
Wait,
Well, there's an apostrophe between Chris and Pratt. It's like a crisp rat. It's a special kind of rat.
Is it the Parks and Rec version or the Star-Lord version?
Parks and
Because
Yes,
that's pretty
yes.
important. Yeah.
He was also in Jurassic World, so all of those 3, he manifests like Captain Planet.
Just rolling the dice. Which Chris Pratt?
Oh no.
I just got an 11, so that does indeed pin them because it says if you roll a 5 or a 6.
Yes, you did. You rolled a 6. That's the best you can possibly roll. Due to your excellent 6 roll, it does indeed pin this venom spitter to a tree that's flying by at 50 miles an hour, and he is stuck out of the fight as you race forward. And the fire belcher that's just half headless and just vomiting this fire everywhere, he indeed does get pinned up to this tree over on your right side, and he starts filing back. And the Phoenix lands directly on the head of the Dreadosaur and starts burning the skull of this massive Dreadosaur. And with that, Armando, you have a chance to act.
Help.
Okay, I have my champion roar active, so I am going to try to slow down this beast, if not trip him up a little bit.
Excellent.
To give us more time. So I am actually going to leap off my horse.
Ooh, it's
I'm going to
happening.
leave the party, and I'm going to do a shockwave because I want to do the largest amount of knockdown that I can do, which is a shockwave.
Fantastic.
So I'll leap into the air and shatter the earth, knocking all enemy minions to the ground, stunning them for 1 round.
Fantastic. Go ahead and roll me 2d6 for the attack. Fantastic. He was already slightly disoriented due to a phoenix, burning his face. Your timing is perfect, and you are indeed able to crush his left foreleg as you crush down on it, and he starts reeling in pain as he's stumbling forwards, but he still desperately clomps forward, and that is a devastating blow to his mobility, and he starts backing off just a little bit. And now I would like for everyone to roll a perception d6 here in the middle of combat.
You shall not pass.
Okay, so Armando, due to your insane adrenaline rush of perfectly crushing his feet, your senses are focused, you are on the ball, and you are indeed able to heroically leap back up into the air, back onto a mount of your choice, or onto the wooden platform, due to your excellent attack there. Now, those of you that rolled better than a 3, you're able to glance out of the corner of your eye that what's in front of you is a massive cliff that'll drop for about a mile. And you are about 100 yards away from it, racing towards it, and the trees are so thick on each side, flying past you. You don't think that there's a way to exit without the Dreadosaur completely annihilating you or running you off the edge. So your heart is racing, your mind is soaring, and I need for all of you to go ahead and roll 1 more d6. This is a non-modified d6. Ew, Kaz rolled a 1. Leo.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here's what happens. Here's what happens. So,
And Armando.
in a flash, in a moment, check this out. So it's getting desperate. The Dreadosaur is just in a bloodlust rage, furious that you're gaining ground, and he roars out with a, and he starts stomping forward, closer and closer and closer. And Sacris is trying to keep up with him. And the Dreadosaur's head is on fire, and he's about to reach down, and he scoops up this beast in his mouth and just shreds him with his teeth, and he is no more. You gaze directly in front of you, and you see the cliff face coming faster and faster, and all at that moment you hear oh, and vines, 1,000 vines seem to swoop down from above as you see a flash of orange and black, and every single one of you are grabbed by either the arm or the hair in Kaz's part, he rolled horribly, or the ankle or the foot, and all of you are grabbed by these mighty clawed fingers that aren't digging damage into you, but all of you are grabbed. With the exception of Ari, and Ari, being that she probably would not survive being grabbed, you see a strange phenomenon. You see 1,000 vines shoot down from the treetops, and they seem to be cradling the wooden skiff that she's on, and it starts pulling it and all of you up into the trees. And you gaze below as the mostly blinded Dreadosaur roars and tumbles off the top of this cliff all the way down a mile, and you hear a thudding boom, and the earth shakes mightily as Sacris opens his wings wide and starts to soar up to where you are, and he's just as confused as you are. And you look around and you gaze up, and for those of you that rolled better than a 1, cause your hair is still flying in your face and you can't see any of this stuff, but you notice that these incredibly muscular, mighty looking orange tiger-like people seem to have grabbed you, and they seem to be weaving vines with their hands in a way that's not purely physical. They're not weaving it just by like knitting. They seem to have some kind of control over these vines as they're moving, and they pull you all the way up and up and up and up into the very tops of the trees, and you're looking down maybe 200 feet until they finally rest you on these treetop platforms. As the adrenaline starts to, your heart is just thumping in your chest and you're starting to breathe a little bit. Your vision is starting to clear. Kaz, roll me a d6. Yay! So Kaz, you're back in your element now. You've moved your hair out of your eyes and you can now clearly see what you look up at these 6'6", these pretty beefy, tall, tiger-looking people. They have tribal ink and paint all over them, and they look fierce. Their eyes are piercing you, trying to study you actively, and they very gruffly say, "There is little time. Follow us." They start leading you through these wooden platforms.
Do I actively see Arya?
You do actively see her.
Ari.
Oh, yeah, Ari. Yeah.
Ari.
That's right, Ari.
Sorry.
Nice. The other cool female from fiction.
I said Arya there?
Arya coming? Arya gonna be okay?
Arya
That's right.
around?
So at this point, Kaz, because you rolled a 6 very well, you are the only one to notice that about 50, 60 feet away, she indeed is being kind of cradled on her skiff very delicately, and it's like the forest itself. The vines are kind of cradling and moving and supporting her skiff perfectly level, at the same level that you are on the walkway, but it's like 50 feet away. So you see it. Sacris has his eyes locked on Ari the whole time, so he and you are very watchful of her at the moment.
When I turn to look for her,
yeah,
my eyes glow a little bit, but then when I see her, I go, okay, I just walk.
Excellent. That's exactly what happens.
Just to mention, I'm going to kind of match Sacris's vigilance.
Excellent. Leo, because you said that, go ahead and roll me a d6. That's excellent. I want to see if we can get a bonus out of this. Okay. So you are single-minded focus on her, and because of that, you stumble a little bit, and you crash into the back of one of these very tall tiger guards. And he kind of smacks you a little bit and says, "Watch yourself, Pardus. You're alive because I am gracious." He kind of smacks you back and you stumble back a little bit, but you are confident Ari is safe. And you see that her eyes open a little bit and glance towards you, and she seems to be very comforted by your watchful presence. As you all are marching together through these rickety wooden drawbridges that are lashed with vine and rope, the skiff that Ari is kind of being very carefully cradled on along with you, there seem to be a few of these tiger men that are kind of weaving vines. As they're kind of holding onto the vines are cradling them and her, and they're controlling the vines in a way that is very gently gliding her forward. So as all of you are continuing to be escorted through these 300-foot tall vine bridges, you do indeed round the corner of this massive tree, and you approach a treetop village. You indeed have entered the home of the Nagiri. So you've entered the home of the Nagiri. You're about 300 feet off the jungle canopy floor. Watcher Roth snarls, "What is that one doing here?" He's staring directly at Leo. "What is a Pardus doing up here?"
What are you meaning to say?
And he says, "I'm watching you." You get a very eerie impression from him, and you all have a moment to look around.
As soon as there's that awkward silence, Kaz will just immediately walk up to him and go, "Are you part plant?"
"You're a peculiar one. I have not seen your type here ever."
"I imagine not. The vines, do they work with you?" I see he starts looking around in the woods. He goes, "Is there a vine creature somewhere?"
"Oh, child. It seems that you have much to learn." And with a gesture of his hand, a vine kind of creeps up and around his hand, and he offers it to you, and a flower manifests from the tip of the vine that he offers to you.
"Did you make the plant do that?"
"I did indeed." For a few minutes, he demonstrates some more of these very cool things that he can do with the vine. From across the way, you hear the voice of a delicate, beautiful, elderly woman. Tapana, from across the way, says, "Oh, I'm so glad that you were able to join us. I heard a ruckus in the trees below, and I sent some of our very kind and gracious guards to escort you to safety. Please, make yourself comfortable around the fire. We have much to discuss."
So what do you got? We got any shops?
So as you're looking around the camp, you see that there are a large number of injured people that don't appear to be cat people. You see Loris Fenn up at the very north there. She's a human that seems to be horribly injured. Aris, a healer, seems to be tending to her wounds. You see Meleth Vesar, who's an elf that's dangling some rope down, and he seems to be pulling supplies up. Near the south here, you see Sora Villith. This appears to be an elven maiden who looks very worse for wear and is being suspended by some vines that are helping her broken bones set well, as if she's in a hospital bed. She seems to be healing. And then off on the far side, you see Corin Firebeard. It's a dwarf, kind of green and poisoned by something. And Lolana, a healer, is up here. And there seems to be a wide variety of races being healed at this location. And Tapana is petting her little kitten, Ina, and she beckons you closer towards her.
Before I approach her, I'm going to actually talk to Watcher Roth.
Okay.
So, you seem to know a lot about my tribe, maybe more than I do.
You are one of the betrayers. We don't speak to your kind.
The betrayers? That's a very harsh term.
Are you not from these lands?
I haven't been here. I don't even know when.
Well, there seems to be much that you've missed in the last few years. He tightens his grip around his spear, and he threatens it at you and says, "Move, before I impale you."
Are you this rude to all your guests?
Only of the tribe of the betrayers. You are fortunate that I've let you live this far.
But I've done nothing wrong. I have not even associated with them. I don't even know what you're speaking of. And here you are accusing me of crimes I did not commit.
And he slams your chest with his spear and says, "Say one more thing and I will skewer you now." Tapana from across the way says, "Watcher Roth, please, they are our guests. Permit them enter."
One more thing. I push him off of me and continue walking.
He's visibly just sneering. He's gritting his teeth and he says, "Yes, Tapana." And he backs up slightly, eyeing you with a murderous rage.
I brush him off and continue.
All right, and you have a chance to move wherever you wish in the camp. Tapana is smiling warmly at you and is lifting a drink.
Yeah, I'll start heading over there.
All right. So as you approach, the watch commander Volrock, who's taller than the rest of them, very beefy in the chest and shoulders, says to you, "The rest of you may pass in good order. We ask that you not interfere with the healing processes that are delicately being managed around you. But I'm watching you." And he stares at Leo with an intense glare, mirroring the intensity of Watcher Roth. His eyes have not left Leo since Leo brushed him off. And Tapana whispers from across the way to Volrock, "Volrock, please, bid them all enter. They are guests here in our home." Sakris, at this point, has taken Ari off of the skiff. He is carrying her in his arms, slowly approaching behind you all.
I will ask Watcher Volrock, who's your strongest arcanist?
Young one, I am sorry to say that I'm nowhere near as gifted in the arcane as those that have come from Sanubis or even the Elven lands. I am trained in a simpler form. I'm a vine weaver, and I was taught by Tapana herself, I am honored to say.
That means I gotta get next to the big fire, though, right?
Are you not encouraged by the warmth of fire, young one?
I don't like fire.
I understand. And he kind of eyes Leo, and he rips Leo's cloak off and wraps it around you, and says,
"What? I will not let him do that."
Roll me. Hang on. Leo, roll me a d6. Let's see how fast you are to catch it. Okay. So as he reaches for your cloak to wrap around Kaz, you catch it very quickly.
No, I want to catch his hand.
oh, damn, son. Okay. So you catch his hand and you get to say something. You caught him.
What do you think you're doing?
I'm providing the aid to your ally that you should be, betrayer.
You're assuming a lot of things.
I assume only what I see.
Then you see not.
While he's talking to you, Leo, I will motion towards his pouch. I'll be like, should I?
Little pickpocket? Roll me a d6, Kaz.
No, I'll just pick up on Leo's cues and not do it.
Yeah, I'll just be like, no, and I'll toss his arm down.
His beefy claws, roll me one more d6, Leo. So with that one roll that you just did, as you kind of toss his arm to the side, he intentionally opens up one of his fingers' claws and slices at your arm, and it hurts. He kind of growls at you and says, I'm watching you. Go.
That's just rude.
Tapana says, Commander Volrock, how many times must I tell you? All are welcome in this place. I appreciate your willingness to protect, but this is a place of healing, not of injury. She waves her hand in the air, and butterflies and light extend from her hands, and the fresh scar that's on Leo's shoulder that was starting to bleed instantly mends, and Leo, you feel better as a result.
Well, someone is far wiser than you are.
Watch your tongue before I cut it out.
I pat Valrock on the shoulder. I'm like, don't worry. They say you get wiser with age.
Yes, they do. They do say that, Cause.
One day you'll be wise too, Leo. And I'll walk over to
And he's like 20 years older than you.
They're both like
what?
yeah, that is the moment. We're just
they're
gonna
both like and all the 100-plus-year-olds are like, kids these days. All right, so with that, Watcher Commander Volrock is kind of in a huff, and he would rather not look at Leo, so he pretends to busy himself over here,
I'll
overlooking.
quickly move out of his sight.
I'll
okay. Help him out.
So Commander Volrock turns his back to all of you and tries to tend to those who are healing Loris Fen.
I'm watching them heal to learn the arts of healing here.
Excellent. Roll me a d6, V. Okay. You're a little shaken from the violence that you just saw and the bizarre level of animosity that the commander and it seems all of the Viribus have towards Leo and possibly his kind. With that, you are able to notice that Aris, who appears to be an elf, trying to heal Loris Fen. And as you observe this, you see that it's a combination of what appears to be a holy kind of water that she's soaking into a basin and blessing with an aspect of healing directly from El Shaddai. You recognize the scent of the healing, but it's a different style. It's something that you're not quite used to, and you're fascinated by it. And Tapana warmly offers each of you her biggest smile as you approach.
So, you're responsible for bringing us here.
She smiles warmly, and all of you, as you approach her, you feel the warmth of the fire, but you don't think it's the fire that's warming you. She's so radiant and effervescent with joy and hope and light. It's like being in the presence of Santa Claus and your favorite grandparent and a bowl full of popcorn and hot cocoa on a cold night. She is the essence of joy. She's like wearing a Snuggie for the soul, and she welcomes you. As you walk in, she hugs every single one of you with a deep hug, and for the first time in weeks, every single one of you, when she hugs you, you feel your heart soften, and you feel the wear of the desert and the combat and the injuries and the bruises and the bleeding. You feel all of it just kind of lighten.
When she hugs me, I immediately think, am I being pickpocketed? And then it immediately fades away as I'm comforted, as you described.
In her presence, you feel the joyest of joys. And after she hugs each and every one of you, she looks into your eyes with so much love and joy that you feel like you're home. It's beautiful. And she says, yes, young one, I welcome you to these forests. Though our friends on the ground may be far less hospitable than those of us that live up here in the trees, I promise you that in my presence I will bring only blessing to you.
It looks like you all are very capable healers here.
Oh, well, when you live as long as I do, you learn a thing or two about how to bring the blessing of the life giver to those that need him most.
In that case, we have some very urgent matters. I kind of look back at Ari. She's in a critical state. Fear she doesn't have much longer to live at all. It's surprising we were able to get her here to begin with. If there's anything you'd be willing to do for her.
And her very warm and happy expression kind of softens and sinks slightly to a sadness, and she says, I will say that I felt her presence even before I saw you. The level of pain and the level of fear and hopelessness that seemed to be emanating from the forest floor pained me deeply, and I had to send out my guardians and my watchers to see if they could provide some assistance. I'm so very glad that it seems that they could.
It's been absolutely heart-wrenching. We appreciate that greatly.
She rests her hand upon you and she says, let's see how much we can do. She passes Armando and she looks up, and she's very short, less than 5 feet. She's a very short woman. She looks up at the mighty Titanic Armando and she says, oh my, you have survived more damage than I may have healed. And she looks at your shield and how battered and worn it is, and she says, I see great things in you, mighty champion. And she reaches your hand up and she kisses the tip of your hand, and she hugs you tightly on your upper thigh. And she looks over at V. Oh, we always need more of your kind here. And she smiles at you and she presses her hand to your chest, and you feel an energy fill you that you desperately have needed from all the energy that you've been pouring into keeping Ari alive, and you feel rejuvenated in a way that you've not been in a very long time. And she blesses your chest with her palm as she reaches up to you, and she walks past Kaz, and as she's similar to your height, she's still a little shorter than you, and she reaches up and glides her hand through your hair and touches your face, and she says, you truly are a treasured creation. I hope much good for you. And she kisses you on the cheek, and you feel butterflies kind of tickling you all over. And then she approaches Ari, who Sakris has laid very delicately upon the woodwork, and Sakris says to her, I've tried all that I can, and all that I know, and the mighty V over there has been working tirelessly when I have failed to keep our Ari alive, and there's nothing more that I can do. And Tapana approaches Ari, who's breathing very sharply and still very drained of life, and Tapana whispers a soft prayer, and you all feel lighter as a result. And Ari seems to tense up in a little bit of pain, and Tapana frowns and says, I am sorry to say that any healing that a mere mortal could provide alone would not be enough to provide what she has lost. It seems that part of her is missing. Her physical body is broken beyond the repair that I can offer, but I can offer a place of healing that may be enough to save her life.
But then what I've heard is true. The healing springs are here.
And she glances over at you, Issa. Her eyes kind of soften as she sees you, and she says, oh, my dear child, they are more than legends where we live. Here, they are hope.
Ooh.
She looks at Ari and she cradles Ari's cheek with her palm. A single tear drips off of Tapana's face onto Ari's face, and she says, I will do all I can to help you, my child. And she looks up all at you with urgency and she says, but we must leave immediately. She has little time.
We should go.
Then.
Very well. Tapana looks up at Sakris, and Sakris is still just completely drained of health and of energy. He's barely dragging himself along. And Sakris looks at Armando and he asks, brother, can you carry a burden that I wish I could? And he glances down at Ari.
I shall carry her.
His smile kind of quivers as he collapses onto his knee as he takes a deep breath. And Armando, if you'd be willing to come over and pick up Ari and move her with you as you tend her through the jungle here.
I will bend down and pick her up kind of softly.
Wonderful. And with that, Tapana moves with a bit more swiftness than you think that a woman of her age would be able to. And she pets her cat once. And she says, follow me. We have no time. She starts leading you down the walkway up here to the north. A few hours pass as you walk through the treetops, 200-300 feet above the ground, and you come to a mighty mountain. This mountain is absolutely massive. It's taller than most any mountain you've ever seen. Sakris is even impressed by the height of this mountain, and he tends to live up in mountainous areas where his people are from, the Imperium Peaks. He's dragging himself along, and V, if you're willing, he kind of puts his hand on your chest and says, brother, I cannot carry on. Would you help me in any way?
Yes, so I can cast a small heal to see if that helps him rejuvenate some of his energy.
He desperately needs it.
Yeah, so I'll heal him up a bit, see if I can give him a little extra energy for this voyage.
All right, you press your hand to his chest, and he breathes in sharply. And you see his muscles start to tighten up a little bit and then release as the healing life energy that you can provide does fill him, and he's able to breathe deeply for the first time in a very long time. And he says, thank you, brother. I can carry on. He kind of rests his hand on your shoulder and squeezes tightly. He does offer you what he can conjure of a smile, and then he salutes you, and then he presses on behind you. Another few hours pass in the jungle as you start to ascend this mountain. It is a mighty mountain with lots of winding pathways. As you are now up above the tree line, you see the entrance of a cave, and this cave seems to be covered with claws and etchings and marks. You enter this dark cave and you start hearing the drip of cave water and the slosh of moving water. You venture in through this cave and you start hearing these eerie sounds of growls and hisses, and every so often, everyone roll a d6 for perception. V, you see this. Armando, you see this. Kaz, you see this. So those of you that rolled a 3 or higher, you see out of the flicker of your eye inside this very dark cave, as the beloved elder leads you on through, that there are kind of little flickers of what you think are pairs of red eyes that are glowing off in the distance, and you only see them for half a second. It almost feels like a mirage. It's super fast, but it's just enough to very much unsettle you as you push deeper into this winding, cavernous cave. And near the very end, you see a light. And that light, it might be 200 yards away, and Tapana says, "We are almost there." Armando, she beckons you and says, "We have little time. With what strength you have, Armando, please increase the pace."
Okay, I will increase the pace, and I kind of hold her a little bit closer, a little bit more protective.
Wonderful. So as you're walking forward, Ari gasps sharply as the increased motion is starting to agitate her, and she's starting to cough and spit up blood. You know that she has little time, and she's desperate. So as you round the bend, and you see the opening here, the opening of this cave opens up to crystalline blue water, and the water that you've kind of been sloshing through and around and has been up to your ankles up to this point opens up, and this black area of the map on the left is still kind of underneath the cave mouth, and then there's this wide cave mouth that opens up into this perfect juncture between the light and the dark of the outside and the inside of this cave. And right about here, where you see the echoing purple, it's sparkling in a way that's very unique, and it seems to be opening up into this bulbous area. Tapana is kind of wobbling forward, and she says, "I bring you to one of the few founts of living waters that exist here in Terrath. It is a place that is more holy and more powerful than I could ever be, and it is the only hope we have to save our beloved Ari."
I'm gonna run towards that area.
"Follow me into the water." And this area of the water is about 5-6 feet deep, and Tapana can't go all the way in. She's very short and she would drown, but she goes as far in as she can, and then she holds out her arms and asks for you, Armando, with your strength, hold her up so she's floating just at water level.
Okay, I'll delicately hold her up there, cradle her a little bit.
Excellent. The rest of you are welcome to move around as you wish. And Sacris, who's been barely stumbling through for most of this walk, Sacris has kind of had his hand on your shoulder, and you've been kind of helping him along as he's desperately trying to move forward on the verge of collapsing himself. So he collapses to his knees here as he oversees what's about to happen.
Seeing that Sacris looks so worn out, can I scoop up some of the water and try to moisture his shoulders for him?
Yes, you can.
I will do that. Well, here you go, Sacris. This should feel good.
He reaches out to you and he says, "I knew I'd choose well in you." And
Like how he's reaching out for the cup and I pour it on his shoulders.
Yeah, the sweetness of the liquid, it seems to rejuvenate a bit of him. He smiles at you as broadly as he can in his state, and he says, "Thank you, Kaz." And in that moment, as Armando, with his mighty strength, lowers Ari into this healing water, Tapana begins to say a prayer to the Life Giver. "Almighty Life Giver, we beseech you for your blessing in this time of need. Touch your daughter Ari with healing and provide her what she needs to breathe yet again." And at that moment, you hear a rustling in the bushes, and Armando, the water starts to swirl around you in this beautiful bright white light, and you feel invigorated and strengthened in a way that you've never felt before as the water starts spinning around and around you. And V, you start feeling more energized with a holy righteousness and radiance that you haven't felt since your original christening, basically. And in that moment, as the water starts to spin, you hear a rustling in the bushes. All at once, you hear a... "How dare you interlopers approach our mountain? This is not a place for your kind."
I look at Leo. What did you do this time?
Not popular here.
I think it's the opposite. I think you're very popular.
They don't look like the tiger guys. They look kind of like Leo. Krastarith, the one on the south here, looks at Leo and says, "Why do you not have the mark? Were you not chosen?" Leo, go and roll me a d6. Let's see what you can perceive of how he looks. Excellent. So with that, Leo, you're pretty good at reading your kind. You know what you look like. You know that these guys look fairly similar, but there's something very off about them in that they have 3 claw marks right across their forehead, and all of their eyes are glowing red. Everyone else can see the eyes that are glowing red, but due to the fur pattern, you can tell that there are 3 claw marks right across their forehead, and that's kind of glowing in a way that you can perceive that's unique to your people. Drekthon says to you, "It seems this one was not chosen for the blessing. We must eat him first." Just before they're about to pounce, you all have a moment to interact or to speak.
I say, "Sacris, I choose you." No, I'm just kidding.
What do you mean, the blessing?
Sethkor, the one that's sneaking up behind you, says, "Do you not know of the blessing of the Master?"
I don't.
And the red claw mark on his forehead burns as a fire as he says, "Oh, you will."
I want to go over here and see if I can use the charm to persuade Forecast to tell us more about it.
Excellent. Roll a d6 plus your persuasion modifier. 5. That is enough. That Forekoth, as you approach him, he seems conflicted, confused. He says, "You seem to know our kind, yet you do not recoil."
I want to know more about this mark on your head. I want to know more about this blessing. What can you tell us? We want to understand.
He seems to approach you not with violence or aggression, but with curiosity that really is moving to you. And right as that happens, you hear a swirling of energy, like a hissing and a ripping at the same time of time and space, and you see a vision of a human male. This human male inside this red portal that erupts, and as this portal erupts, the intensity of the glowing mark upon all of these snow leopards' heads starts burning, and it starts searing painfully. I would like for all of you to roll a d6 for perception. A 4 with Leo. Okay, Issa, very good. So those of you that rolled a 5 or more with your combined modifier, instantly you recognize this face. You are looking at the face of the High Arcanist Irrikan Sol. An Irrikan Sol, those of you that recognize his face, you recognize that he is a hero of previous wars. He's a mighty Arcanist who used to live inside Sanubis, and you bumped into him at various points in Sanubis, for those of you that rolled well. And he disappeared about 10 years ago under mysterious circumstances that were not quite understood to those of the city. He looks far worse for wear than you saw him last time. And he says to you, "Now is not the time for pleasantries. Now is the time for you to yield, Ari, and leave with your lives for the brief time you have them."
Over my dead body.
He also has a mighty slash of 3 scars across his left eye, and it flares red as he says, "So be it." A wild crackling of this red energy explodes forth out, and I need all of you to roll a d6 defense.
I'm going to try to protect her with my body.
Excellent. So as you're doing all this, Tapana is desperately trying to kind of ward off the evil that's coming out of this portal, and she says, "Armando, we need your strength right now. Shield us all." Armando, you are able to step in front of Ari, and you take a painful surge of energy that was intended for Ari. It is crushingly painful, and you do indeed take 15 points of damage.
I say, watch out, Sacris.
Exactly. Perfect timing.
Oh boy.
You see that Ari is starting to be rejuvenated as a result of her time in this water and due to Tapana's prayer, and Drekthon roars mightily as he jumps down directly at Kaz. Now we are in combat. Go ahead and roll me an initiative. Standard D6. V and then
I can't even get here. Yeah.
You've been carrying a 300-pound bird on your back basically for the last several hours.
I'm tired, all right, guys? Calm down.
All right. So Kaz,
No one was saying anything, bro.
I saw that look, Leo.
I will succeed my first turn for this. So how big is my ethereal friend?
Being that it's kind of an illusion made out of energy, you can make it humanish size. You can't make like a kaiju, but you can make a human.
Yeah, that's fine. I want to summon my ethereal friend.
Okay, that is your friend.
So this one looks very quick compared to the other ones and moves by very quickly between the two of them to get to that position.
Okay.
He does 10 damage to all enemies in its melee range.
All right, so that does indeed hit Drekthon and the portal that is casting the vision of Irrikan Sol, and that explosive damage does indeed start breaking and tattering the portal, and it starts to waver, and you see the mark upon all of the Pardus cat people's foreheads start to kind of flicker and waver, and they seem confused for a moment until Irrikan Sol tightens his fist in the image, and they all cry out in agony, and they start approaching you with vigor.
I'll point and go, blow up the magic thing!
All right, and he says, "I dare you, Arcanist."
I double dog dare you?
With that, Drekthon does a wide sweeping slash across everyone in his mighty melee range that includes Sacris, Kaz, Leo, and Tapana. It's getting dangerous here. Roll a d6 defense. Ooh, Leo. Okay.
You jump in the way of me is what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, no!
So, Leo, you'll be taking an extra 3 damage as a result of this. You get to describe how you take that damage.
Yeah, I'll jump in front of Kaz. I'll
Excellent.
be like, man, Kaz is just such a nice guy, and he's
All right.
over there helping Sacris. And he pointed out that we should definitely destroy that portal. So
Excellent.
smart,
All right.
so I'm gonna protect him.
Great. So, Leo, you do indeed dive in front of Kaz and Tapana, and you take the damage that would have gone to both of them. Right as he was about to slash all the way through our beloved Tapana and our little Kaz, you take a huge slash to the chest, and you take an additional 3 damage. So instead of 12
Take
damage,
that, Leo.
you take 15 damage straight to your chest.
That's a good trade. I'll take it.
You are almost mortally wounded.
Kyle's like, oh.
Yeah. So it's
Sweaty over here.
Yeah. It slices all the way through your armor. You collapse to the ground. You are near death.
I
Tapana.
Back at V, like panicked eyes.
Exactly. In that, you saved the life of Sacris, Kaz, and Tapana with what you just did. That is mighty. All right, next up we have Leo.
I'll actually just smoke bomb. Yeah.
You
Okay,
need
jump
that.
in the way, take all that damage, and then just kind of disappear.
That's right. So you smoke bomb, and
just be like da 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 da.
you're holding your guts in, basically.
Yeah, I'm like.
Yeah.
I try to get in the water a little bit because I saw what was happening over there. I'm like
Right.
splashing it.
Yes. So like you learned from Armando how to tank well. You just took a crap ton of damage, and Armando straight up saved Ari from absolute death, and you took a decent chunk of damage that likely would have killed Tapana. Issa, you are up next.
I remember this man. I've actually heard of him in my past travels, and they refer to him as the Soul Breaker. And that's why all of the cats have the 3 claws across their faces. And they've been soul wounded. And if their souls could be healed, like maybe if we actually drag them in the water, it may reduce the actual hold that he has. So I'm going to shoot at the portal to try and distract him. Quick shot right to his forehead.
Perfect.
And I tell the rest of the group, see if we can get them in the water.
You rolled as poorly as you possibly could, but the good news is that your strategic inclinations were right on, and your damage was able to strike the portal, and you can almost hear glass shattering, weakening the portal, and the High Arcanist says, "How dare you bring pointed instruments to the Archmage himself?"
Let's get the cats in the water. Let's kill the freaking portal.
Cats hate water.
Don't care.
So
That's
true.
actually
That's a
a stigma
cause.
that hasn't been proven among all cats.
I pointed every cat out of the water. Every single one.
Exactly. So V, you are up next. People are hurting.
Yeah. I look over at Leo, and he's not looking so good. So I'll use my Cascade, my basic heal, and that's 2d6.
Whereas Leo was coughing up blood and near the point of death, you do indeed rejuvenate him for 4 points of healing, and he breathes deeply. Leo, you have a moment to speak to him if you wish.
Thanks, bro.
Bro has been.
I got your back.
That's right. All right, coming up next, we have the mighty Armando. You just took a pummeling to your back, and you have an opportunity to respond.
So my main concern is probably Ari, so I'm just going to turn back around towards the blast and then do a shield block.
Powerful.
And I will raise my mighty shield and absorb damage coming in by 5 and reflect it back.
Excellent.
So I'm basically just trying to protect Ari at this point, not thinking
Perfect.
about engaging.
That is mighty. That is exactly what she needs. You notice that Tapana, as she continues to pray to the life giver, that Ari, the water that's circling around here, this white glistening water that's sparkling, every time she breathes in, the water kind of glows and then dims and glows and then dims. And it seems that the water is rejuvenating her physical body. And for the first time in a very long time since you've entered the jungle, her eyes start open. And she looks up into your eyes, Armando, and she says, "Armando, is that you?"
Don't worry, we're going to get you out of here.
She puts her hand on your armored chest and she says, "Thank El Shaddai." She kind of cradles up into your chest safely.
Okay, I'll grab her hand and say for El Shaddai.
For El Shaddai. And Tapana says, "The life giver can do great and mighty things." And she continues to pray, and she's infusing the water with a beautiful light. And you see that Ari is starting to regain some control of her physical body. And with that, Kaz, you have an option to act.
Is it possible to modify one of the parts of my ability?
Well, roll me a d6 and impress me, and we'll see what happens. All right, so you have grand ambitions, but you're welcome to try.
That don't impress me.
I'm gonna re-roll that with my
inspiration.
Hey.
Let's see what we get.
There's a star over the one. There's a star over the one.
That is true. All right, so you get the option to choose the 2 or the 1.
Oh, I guess I'll go with the 2.
All right, well, it's better than 1. What would you like to attempt?
I wanted to use the Immortal Archon.
Okay.
But instead of destroying and vaporizing, swap.
Being that you have the option with your abilities to be non-lethal as a character point, I will allow you to be non-lethal if that's your intent. You can do up to the damage that the ability permits you. So yeah, I will allow that.
I'll swap out Issa with Drekthar.
Excellent.
Before that, I do want to blow up for 10 damage. because I can do that with my ethereal friend.
That's right. So you do indeed blow up, and it knocks both the portal and Drekthon in a way that's destabilizing, and the portal seems to remarkably wane, and Irikon reels back and as that happens, Drekthon is dropped in the water, and he says to everyone, "This is a place of power, and you corrupt it with your healing." Splashing through the water and desperate to get out, Tapana reaches out to him, shoots white light through the water, and says, "Be at peace." He stops thrashing for a moment, and at that moment, I would like for everyone to go ahead and roll me a standard D6, no modifier. So those of you that rolled a 3 or better, you can hear this, like a mind message that Irikon Sol is sending out. He was just blasted by Kaz's mighty arcane energy, so he seems a bit disoriented for just a moment, and he's trying to send a message mentally to Ari, and he says, "You took my world away from me, and I will return that blessing." As he tries to reach out with a mighty red fume and mist, it is blocked by those of you that rolled a 3 or better. The strength of your mind and your force of will is able to press back against him and keep his evil intent from reaching Ari just enough that the swirling of the white water starts to move to a climax of energy, and it explodes in a white energy of healing. And you see Ari breathe deeply for the very first time, and it shatters the entirety of the red portal, and the vision of Irikon's soul fades away as he reels in an anger, and he disappears as the portal dissipates into nothing. And you see all of the other goodbye and you see all of the other Pardus tribe stumble and stammer like Drekthon looks up at Krastrith, and it's almost like they've woken up. They back up, embarrassed. They say, "What have we done?" They seem absolutely horrified as they look down at their hands that are covered in blood, and they look up at you, and they look horrified at what they've done.
You were soul broken, being controlled by someone polluted by evil of this world. Don't harbor that in your heart.
And with that, the red of their eyes is completely dissipated, and the mark that was on their forehead is still a physical scratch. You can see that it's likely permanent, but the red glow that was emanating from it, this mark, seems to have lost its savor. And all 4 of them look at each other in disgust. They say, "We must go. Forgive us." They back away, tails down, as they nurse their wounds.
Don't worry, it washes right out.
I want to sneak away and try to follow them for a little bit just to get some distance from everybody here. And then make myself known and try to speak with them.
Excellent. So with that, as this war band exit off here to the south, Tapana seems fairly drained as you lay Ari at the feet of Tapana. Tapana bends down to Ari and she says, "Young Ari, it warms me to see you smile again." Ari moves up slowly onto her feet. She reaches to Tapana and hugs her tightly, and she says, "Thank you, dear one. I needed more than could be offered by this world." Tapana looks deep into Ari's eyes, and Ari notices that Sakris is still deeply drained and injured from the journey. Ari tries to reach out towards Sakris, looks at her own hand, and she's puzzled, and that she says, "I have no help for you. My healing has left me." And Tapana goes on to say, "Ari, while it seems that we may have healed your body, it seems that your spirit is still very deeply damaged, and that is something that I do not have the power to heal here." Sakris goes on to put his face in his hands, and he says, "I know of an ancient device that I hesitate to mention, and it is a device that can indeed weave the soul, but I fear that it is in a place that I cannot return."
Tell us about this. Don't hide it from us.
In order for us to track down the source of what has drained our dear Ari, we must make our way to the Imperium Peaks.
To the north? In the freezing Northlands? With those egotistical, horrible bird people? No offense.
Thank you.
I lean over to Sakris. Does not like bird people.
And Sakris kind of smiles and says, "Well, those that still live there certainly are still bastards." And he cracks a little bit of a smile at you, Issa, as he recognizes you know what kind of jerks they are. And he says, "Though I may not be permitted back, the device that they hold is the only way that we will be able to locate where Ari's energy has been stolen to."
But how would we get to the cities? It's so far.
Sakris looks over at Armando and says, "We are close to the city of Protencio. Do you still have any friends left in your land?"
I do have a few.
"We must make haste, for what is being attempted is something far greater than we ourselves can stop."
I know the pathway forward.
Very good.
But first, we must find Leo. Where's Leo?
Indeed, please
I
do.
want Armando to have to make a perception check to notice that I left.
I did actually. If you look, I did.
He did.
I did.
Okay.
He
To
did.
see if I noticed you.
Armando rolled an 8. That is enough to kind of see where you're going.
I didn't notice that.
Right. Ari is visibly better. She can physically walk, and she walks over to V and hugs him dearly and says, "Oh, V, I have not seen you for so long. We have much to talk about." And the two of you catch up on the many things that you've missed in the time since you last saw each other in the healing training that you've been involved in.
I want to take a second and talk to Tapana.
May.
Same here. After you. Oh. But V said ladies are supposed to go first.
Very kind of you, Kaz.
Sacris looks at you, Kaz, and winks at you. Well done. Well done.
And so does Sacris.
He nods.
And Armando. Look, everyone says it.
I'm going to go to the side and talk to her just between the two of us.
Okay.
Tapana, I recognize your face. I don't know from where, but I remember it from dreams, from when I was very small. There's so much I don't know about my life. Have you seen my face before? Do you know me? And I remove my veil and actually show her the dragon claws on my face so that she can see. And that's why I went away from everybody. I've had people trying to kill me for years, and I don't know why. But I remember your face. What can you tell me?
She looks at you and her eyes widen as she sees the markings on each side of your cheeks, and she says, "I had hoped that I would live to meet one of you one of these days. It is a deep blessing to have you in my presence." And she kisses your cheek.
No. I'm so honored, but this dream that I have, I remember it from when I'm very, very small, like small, that you were towering over me. And all I can remember is you reaching down to lift me out of, I don't know, I have dirt all over me. What happened? How do you know me?
You were very young at the time, but my travels have taken me out of the jungle on rare occasion, and it seems that you do remember a moment where I was there when you needed me. And it does my heart great good that you were here when I needed you.
Is there anything that you can tell me about my past? There's so much I don't know.
Well, my dear, she sets you down for just a moment, and your eyes widen as she shares with you secrets that no one else in the group is able to hear. But as you do, a tear falls from your eye, and it paints your cheek as you wipe your cheek, and she smiles warmly at you, and she concludes with, "And there is so much more that I could tell. But alas, I am glad that we had a moment to share this time."
Well, I will return to you when my adventure is over. We must follow Sacris. We have to go as soon as we can. Thank you for taking this time for me. I've been so curious, and I had no one to ask, and something told me to ask you.
I do hope that you will return to see me. I do make the finest tea.
I remember the phoenix, and I do love tea. With that, I simply walk toward the water, and I'm waiting between Sacris and Armando so we can leave.
Wonderful.
They told me you were an arcanist.
Oh, my dear one, I have learned many things in my many years, and let's just say that my abilities are blended. What is it that you ask?
Although it scares me a little, can you teach me how to move the vines?
Oh, roll me a d6.
Can I roll a persuasion?
Sure.
Sweet.
While Armando does his reps jock style. Gotta stay loose, gotta stay gotta stay swole. So the good news is, Kaz, due to you rolling a 5, which is excellent, plus your charm. Oh, you are a charming young elf. You roll a 10, you total 10, that is excellent. And Tapana, as she looks at you, she cradles your cheek and says, "Oh, there is much more to you than the average arcanist." And she smiles, and she closes her eyes, and you kind of close yours instinctually as she floods your mind with ideas and thoughts and visions that are well beyond what you imagined were possible. Through this process, you seem to have a connection with nature that is beyond what you had before you walked in the jungle. And it seems that the vines themselves, the natural world, and the beauty of the creation itself seems to respond to you in a way that is more enhanced, similar to the vine weavers that you met on the entry to the jungle. And you seem to have been empowered in a unique way.
Cool beans. That's what I want.
Can you make flowers grow?
Give it a shot, Kaz. Roll me a d6.
Flowers.
You make the most beautiful flower you can imagine. What color is it?
It's the color the mantis showed us.
Fantastic.
Oh, pretty.
All right, so Kaz, you are indeed blessed.
Can we collect any of this water and take it with us?
Roll me a d6, V. Let's see if you're able to.
That would be a good idea.
Okay, only V. You, as a priest, you recognize the value of this water, and though it seems to be more locked to a healing place, you think that this water might maintain some of its potency even if it's pulled away from this location. It may still have some enhanced function even distant from this very holy spot. So you get to fill a vial of the Fountain of Living Waters if you wish.
Waited.
I will.
Excellent. And Topana, before you leave, she says, "My place is here in the jungle. I bid you all one final blessing for now, and I hope that we meet again." And she kisses each of you on your cheek as you pass by, and you feel like you've just been given a plate full of cookies from Grandma. So with this, Leo, you have an opportunity to follow those 4 warriors into the jungle, and you have just a moment to interact with them if you wish.
Hold on, wait up.
The 4 of them seem kind of dazed and very embarrassed, and they back away from you like, "Do not approach."
Oh, now, don't put your tail between your legs. I mostly just want to talk with you.
What do you wish to know?
It's complicated. I don't know anything about myself, and you may know more about me than I do.
He looks at you in kind of a new way. "You truly do not know your own people, do you?"
I've actually, believe it or not, never been to these jungles except when I was maybe a babe.
They look at each other kind of quizzically and they say, "So you had no chance to receive the mark. You were spared from it."
I guess so. What is the mark?
Our chieftain, years ago, came under duress, and our people began suffering in a way that we could not tend to ourselves. And in our weakness, we were reached out by a force that promised could help us. And I don't remember much since then, but it seems that that force did anything but help our people, and they all look ashamed deeply.
Simply made a mistake, then. A grave one, it seems.
One that I fear we may never recover from.
I do have one more thing, though.
Yes.
Have you heard the name Velox?
Velox? Why, yes. I'm aware, deep in the jungle, of that name being spoken. There is some word that Velox may indeed be a bit closer to Protencio, a place that I wish to never go again.
Sorry that you've ended up in this very shameful and difficult position.
I am ashamed to even speak of it. I do hope that one day we may earn the forgiveness that we do not deserve.
I hope so too.
With that, he kind of curtly bows to you, and he and his underlings disappear into the shadows of the jungle.
I will make my way back.
I would like to confront Leo, too.
I try to just slip back into the group like I was never gone.
Leo, where'd you go?
What are you talking about?
I saw you leave the group.
Armando, it's not... I was just going... They look very much like me. I know nothing.
Did you have a desire for the mark yourself?
No, nothing like that.
I kind of just turn around and ignore him. You
Why
can
ask if you're not open to the answer? If you already have your mind made up, why even speak with me?
I will take a swipe at him.
Ooh.
Oh.
Leo, roll
Just
me a
a little
d6.
anger.
A 2. He does indeed connect with you, punches your shoulder back aggressively.
Quick-tempered, are we? Start so easily by a few words.
Quick-tongued, aren't we?
I look at V and go, who are we stabbing?
No stabbing, not yet.
Listen, Armando, I'm sorry I upset you. I really am. But I'm not going to stop being me just because you're prejudiced. But you are very good in combat, and you do care for Sister Ari very clearly, as do I.
And you stay away from her, too.
Ha! That will not happen.
Grip onto my weapon a little bit tighter. Make sure it's visually shown.
You don't intimidate me.
V, is this what they call peacocking?
The saber has been rattled, and the two of you depart, gritting your teeth slightly.
And you're going to see my banner kind of turn a little bit more black through it.
Interesting. That's excellent. So with that, you continue another day or so through the jungle to the city of Protencio. And the city of Protencio is a human city, largely. They are one of the few mechanized cities in the lands of Terrath, pushing barely into kind of steampunk territory. They've figured out the light bulb, but anything beyond that is likely to break down. They're a manufacturing hub. The higher-ups tend to do very well. Those that are at the bottom are deeply crushed by the pervasive taxes and the intense level of government oversight from the top down. So as you start to approach the city of Protencio, you start making your way into the rainy streets, and it's dark and it's musty by the nighttime that you get there. As you start walking the streets of Protencio, all of the humans that are there kind of eye this group with suspicion. They don't seem violent, but they're like, what the heck is this group coming in here for? And you begin to approach the streets of Protencio from the west, and as you do so, you see that many houses have lots of gears and machinery and sparks of energy and electricity shocking all over them. Ari's walking now. She's still not feeling very well, and you see that there's a mighty man, big beefy dude in the middle of the square here that is gazing down at what looks to be an alligator man. And those of you that are well versed in creatures of the world know that this is a dilly, a crocodile. They tend to be fairly affable, they tend to be decent folk, and this haughty, very muscular man keeps kicking and shocking with electricity this dilly that's on the ground, visibly being tortured, as these two other humans on the other side of this large machine are kind of laughing and roaring with glee as this dilly is just calling out desperately for help.
I'm going to immediately sling my whip off my hip and fling it out and actually lash that man's wrist with my whip and yank him off of his feet and say, if you dare touch him one more time, I will end your life now.
Excellent. So Biff and Cliff, who are these two dudes on the other side of the machine, say, Dirk, are you going to let her do that to you? And Dirk stares at you just as he was about to take a big old wrench and smack right across the face of this dilly. He says to Issa, what is your kind doing in this land? Be gone, wench.
That moment, I'm actually going to step up to him because I'm light on my feet, being a wonderful elf, and actually swing behind him, unsheath my dagger, and put it right to his throat and say, how dare you even speak about my people, dog.
Ooh, and at that moment, his two actual dogs that are on each side of him, tearing at this poor dilly that's being shredded, the dogs look quizzically up at Dirk Contarito, and they're waiting for the command to attack you. And Dirk looks at you and looks at the mighty band of heroes that are approaching, and he says, you're not worth my time, lass. Smacks his wrench on the ground, almost hitting your feet. Roll me a d6, Issa.
Don't get hospitalized here. The amount of OSHA violations, you're more likely to die in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Is there MRSA here?
Probably everywhere.
Where it's manufactured.
There's no grounding anywhere. I don't see any grounding. We're going to die.
Exactly. Issa rolled incredibly well with a 6. You, with your excellent agility and lithe form, are able to kick the wrench that smacked on the ground back up to him and break his jaw with it. And he's like, oh! And Biff and Cliff, their eyes go very wide. They are messing with someone they do not want to be messing with. They run around together and say, hey Dirk, I think the pub's open. Let's make our way over there. And they both weakly smile at you.
Engages with the dagger as I put it right under his now broken jaw. And I'm going to whisper very close to his ear, if we ever cross paths again, you won't be alive when you leave.
That's excellent. He was trying to kind of put on the show of a big bully. He's a beefy dude, probably 6'7", and he looks down at you. He gives the impression he's looking up at you. His countenance has changed. He is no longer the alpha male in the room, and he has been kind of put in his place by your agility and willingness to step in this dilly's time of need. And he says, backs up sheepishly.
Go now, little man. Go now with your friends. Save your life.
Just before he leaves, Captain Terse approaches, and Captain Terse smacks his shoulder up against Dirk Contarito's shoulder, and Captain Terse says, Dirk, are you messing with these people again? And Dirk says, no, Captain, no, Captain. I was just having a little bit of fun. And Biff and Cliff say, yeah, we was just having a little bit of fun. We was working on never mind. They back up and fall into the sludge pit here that Marge Limus was filling a bucket full of, and they are covered in muck and mire, and they crawl off into the distance like the slugs that they are as the dogs chase after them and leave with their master. And Captain Terse says, what are you folks doing in town?
I'm pulling V towards the gator man. I'm like, look, it's the lizardman. Let's heal the lizardman.
Can I heal him?
Yes, you may. Go ahead and roll a d6. Wonderful. All right. The dilly that was on the ground looks pretty battered and beaten, but due to your kindness and willingness to extend your healing hand to him, he gasps for air, and as life returns to him, he goes, and he reaches over for his fishing hat and he puts it on his head and he says, well, hey, y'all, I wasn't expecting to see such a wide variety of kind folk coming through these dark parts. I tell you what, how'd it do?
Hello, I'm Kaz.
Well, hello, Kaz. You's green, just like me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm green, like you.
Ah! And he gives you a big old hug and swings you around with his big old beer gun, puts you down and says, "Hey, you like fish?"
Is it meat?
Oh, it's the meatiest of meat.
Then yes, I love fish.
Oh, and he pulls a big old floppy fish out of his fisherman's jacket and hands it to you and says,
Oh no, not again.
"Try this one. It ain't fresh, but I bet it'll still have some flavor."
How long have you been storing that?
I bite into it.
Oh, it's been a couple days, don't you
not
worry.
again.
I fished it fresh out of my home over there in the Grimmuck Swamp. I was just coming in here because these people, they're not the very best with managing their trash, and their trash keeps coming on downstream, and it's making my grandbaby sick. Yeah, so you bite into the fish.
I know what's coming next.
Roll me a d6, Kaz. Let's see how your tummy reacts.
Oh, no.
Okay, it's remarkably good tasting.
Wow.
It's well preserved
Alright.
somehow.
I give you a thumbs up.
There's a lot of salt on it. A lot of salt.
That's right.
Offer.
And he goes on to say, "Oh, I'm so glad you like it. My wife back in the swamp likes to make that for my grandbabies when I cook them up, and she puts some seasoning on that'll put hair right on your backside. Tell
Oh,
you
so
what."
that's what's stuffed inside of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't worry, it's all edible, mostly. and he says, "My name is Bill Joe Dilly, and I'm delighted to meet you." And Captain Terse says, "Bill Joe, are you back in town again?" And Bill Joe says, "Yeah, the trash keeps coming on down and nobody's stopping it. My grandbabies are getting sick." And Captain Terse says, "This is your 5th time here, mate. There's honestly no reason for you to keep coming back. The government is not going to do anything. You just do the best you can, mate. But I will need to keep you all moving along. Loitering is not accepted here in the town square. You got to keep moving." And Bill Joe Deli says, "Okay, I understand. Hey, friends, follow me. I know a safe place for you to stay the night. Come follow me." And he guides you all over this direction.
I look at me, I'm like, can we?
Can I get a read on this guy?
Roll me a d6, Leo. Is that 5 your d6? Yeah, so you instantly get good vibes from this guy. You think he's telling the truth. You think he just wants to help a neighbor in need.
All right.
Does your tail do anything?
Oh, Bill Joe says, "Oh, it can do everything." He flips his tail, and muck levitates up out of the muck pool and starts kind of swirling around in the air, and he drops it right back down.
That's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I got plenty of tricks I like to show my grandkids. Come on, I'll follow you. I'll teach you some. And you follow him around the corner here. It's not a very pretty part of the city. It's kind of grimy and industrial. And he leads you down into this cellar that has a warm glow that you think will at least provide you some shelter from the rain.
Let's go.
And Sacris and Ari walk past Captain Terse, and Sacris kind of eyes Terse, and Terse eyes Sacris, and they kind of grunt at each other as they pass. All right, so as you enter the cellar, Bill Joe Dilly says, "Come on down. I want to introduce you to a friend. Hey, Tumult, get your big butt over here. I gotta show you some people that were mighty nice to me up there." As you round the corner, you see a familiar face, and Captain Tumult says, "Oi, what the hell are y'all doing here? You were in the desert the last time I saw ye."
We walked.
"That's a mighty long walk, young one." He runs towards you and lifts you up in the air and gives you a big old hug. "Come on down. Would you like a drink?"
They would.
Softy walks up and says,
Kaz, is that you?
Softy! I'll run up.
and he grabs you, flips you over his head a couple of times WWE style, and suplexes you into a big old bear hug.
For it. Definitely. I try to hurricane him, but I fail. I'm really bad at it.
And Bill Joe says to his friend Captain Tumult, he says, "These folks just helped me outside, and they look like they were in a mighty hurry to get somewhere, so I figured you're the one they should talk to." And Captain Tumult says, "Well, where are your landlubbers trying to go?"
Sacris?
Sacris.
Sacris approaches with Ari, and Sacris says to Tumult, "I have good news, and I have very dire news, old friend." And Captain Tumult stumbles towards Ari and says, "Oh, beloved, it does me great good to see you, alive and well." And they embrace warmly. And Ari says, "As it does me joy to see you as well, Captain."
When he says beloved, I look at Leo like, are you going to let that stand? Then I look at Armando and be like, are you going to let that stand?
I just look confused, honestly.
Yeah. So Sacris says to Captain Tumult, "We are in dire and urgent need of you, and it truly is providential that you happen to be in port. We desperately need safe passage as far north as you can get us, Imperium Peaks." And Captain Tumult's eyes go wild, thinking, "The Imperium Peaks? You think they'll let you back in?" And Sacris says, "I don't think they will, but we must try." And he says, "Well, if time is of the essence, throw one back with me, and we'll leave post-haste."
I'm going to take a second and look at Armando and ask him what he thinks of Captain Tumult Viral. Armando, what do you think of this? What do you think of this captain?
I think we can trust him. He took us once through safe passage.
I trust your instincts.
Excellent. Captain Tumult kind of hears you out of the corner of his ear, and with a knowing smile, he just kind of winks at you and he says, "Don't worry, lassie. If you met me 20 years ago, I wouldn't trust me either."
I can't help
Yeah.
but think.
He probably has really worked on his rap game since then.
Hey, wait. And Rap God starts up on the xenophone in the back. So with that, Captain Tumult says, now I will say that there's a reason I'm hiding down here in a basement. There was a trade up on the surface near the docks that didn't quite go so well. So in order for us to make it back to the docks, we're going to have to do so in kind of a stealth-like manner.
What do you mean exactly?
Well, I can't exactly travel on the streets, and if you're going to make it to the dock in time, you'll have to take the sewers with me, beloved.
I shall be your stealth.
Oh, divine bless you, brother. Let's move along.
I am the stealthiest person in this party.
Armando, roll me a d6.
Sure.
And by the way, I really think that I'm very stealthy, even though I'm not.
All right.
No, I was
Armando,
gathering that, yeah.
Armando rolls a 2, and your armor clanks proudly and loudly as you demonstrate your stealth.
I play along and go, where'd Armando go?
You see? I'm here the whole time!
Oh,
You John Cena. That bad boy.
That's very
Can't see him.
surprising.
Try to do better, Leo. You try to do better.
Excellent.
I will try to do better immediately.
And he immediately does. He sneezes and stealths better than anyone in the group.
It's like literally.
Yeah. All right. So Bill Joe says, "Alrighty, y'all. Well, I can swim pretty decent, and I can take you through the waters in the safe way, so that the creatures that live in the sewers ain't gonna get you. But we got to move fast because the guards are going to be coming around through these parts in about 5 minutes. So follow me quickly." And
hey
then
V, we've never gone through the sewer before, have we?
No, not yet. But to learn something new about this place.
So Captain Tumult and Bill Joe take you to the secret corner of the basement here in the cellar, and Captain Tumult fiddles with some keys with the one hand that's still functional besides his hook, and he is able to shove the key into the door and unlock what looks to be a secret passage that allows for you all to drop down into the sewer. And I'd like for all of you to roll a d6 to see how successful you are in your plumage into the sewage. Issa, you fall head first. V, you levitate beautifully. Kaz, you do whatever you want. Leo, you can stealth super sly-like. And Armando, you splash so hard that all of the septic stuff flops directly into the ceiling, but you're tall enough that it only hits you about your waist level.
I'll jump down and then immediately go, let me put my shoes on real quick.
I like that you rolled a 1 as well. That was very good.
Excellent. Well done. All right, so all of you do indeed make it into the sewer. Sacris is doing his best to kind of cradle Ari, who is physically well, but she still seems emotionally and spiritually drained, as Softy follows behind you with his fists up, trying to protect you in case any creatures of the swamp or of the septic system try to sneak up from behind. So he's protecting you from the rear. So all of you make your way through the sewers, and I need all of you to roll one more d6 to see if any of the guards catch you.
I'll be catching up with Softy.
They have sewer guards?
To hear things as you go underneath the city.
I'm giving myself a -2 on all these too, by the way.
Fantastic.
There's your armor.
All right, so Issa, as you're trudging through this muck and mire, you keep slipping and falling and getting covered in all the nasty. You hear some dogs kind of barking above the sewers, but thankfully you're not quite loud enough to draw the attention of the guards. But you are covered in muck and mire and nasty. You do indeed make your way to the dock, and you're able to sneak onto the ship. As you're boarding the ship, a mighty storm starts up. It is a powerful, wretched storm with lightning and thunder, and you do indeed push off, but the seas are rough. As you're settling in for the night, Softy's starting to play some kind of soft music on his harmonica. You are below deck, and you're all wrapped in blankets, but it seems that Ari is in the corner just weeping and quivering and shivering.
I'm gonna go over and sit next to her, just to keep her warm and...
She's just crying bitter, wretched tears, and she looks up at you with a face painted in sorrow.
I'm gonna sit with them too, as well.
Okay.
What's going on?
As Ari is leaning up against you, and she's kind of absorbing the warmth from you, Issa, she cries onto your shoulder, and she collects herself enough to share with you, and she says, "He was right, He was right."
Who?
Irricon. His daughter died because of me.
What do you mean?
Anza was her name. Her mother Viria was like a sister to me in the priestly order of Sanubis. Viria died in an ambush tending wounded in the Molten Reaver Heights, and I took Anza under my wing. Brilliant child. She had her father's warm golden eyes, with such soft heart to heal like her mother. She used to call me Auntie Ari, and she and I would sing in the evenings, the family and guests. She had such a sweet voice. Anza was the youngest acolyte accepted into the order when she was just 13. She wanted to make her mother proud. The week we celebrated Anza's 14th birthday, she starts shivering. Her father, Irricon, was called to war, and I was called to the front lines to heal the wounded at the Battle of Penumbra. I told Anza to stay back at the medical camp where she would be safe. But she hid in our caravan to the front lines. She wanted to help, to make her mother proud of her. That night, she was caught in the dark terror of battle raging around her, and an orc darkenist of the Scaled Legion drained her life dry. I was not able to heal the soul that had been torn from her. She died in her father's arms on the battlefield that night, as her father wept upon her face. After that, Irricon defected from the Arcanist Order of Cenubis, and in 10 years was never heard from again. I failed the family that I loved.
Why do you carry this in your soul?
He blames me still. There must have been something that I could do.
Ari, sometimes people have expectations. And just because you don't meet them doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means that they had expectations that were maybe unfair. You did your best in that situation. You cared for them, and you meant it. And that's all you could do.
And the tears that are just painfully digging grooves down her face, she wipes at them for a moment. She looks up at you and she says, "Thank you, Leo. Thank you. I hope that is enough." And as the storm continues to rage on outside, she reaches for you both and she cuddles into you as her shivering cold body starts to absorb your warmth, and she feels comforted in that moment. So the ship continues to sail on through the night, through storms that rage, from the city of Protencio all the way up through the Sea of Shadows through the night.
So throughout the night, I'm going to try to get Leo and just try to talk to him. Say, hey, Leo.
Armando.
I just want to apologize for the way I've been acting lately.
Oh, I really appreciate that, Armando.
Do you, can I tell you a little story about what happened to my father?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I'll lead him up to the deck as I'm telling him this story. And I'm going to get him close over to the side of the boat. I'm going to put my arm around him.
Sure.
I'm just going to speak from my heart kind of deal of what happened to my father and how was killed by his kind. And there's a lot of deep emotion in me. And then when we're on the side, I'm just going to give a quick shove and see if I can push him off.
What? Wait, okay, when he's shoving me, can I tell if he was lying or not?
Leah, roll me a d6 to see how perceptive you are.
Sure.
3. Okay, you are able to read well enough to see if he was lying. Armando, were you actually lying? Or telling the truth about the father's story?
I was telling the truth about the father's story.
Okay. Now, Leo also can perceive if he thinks you actually are trying to kill him now, or if you're trying to kind of jokingly make amends and see if he can catch himself with his agility. Are you trying to kill him now?
I am not trying to kill him, but I'm certainly trying to make a splash.
Okay.
At this moment.
So it's a little bit of emotional healing by kind of dishing out a little bit of wet justice on the cat.
Yes.
Okay. Leo, roll me a d6. Let's see how well you're able to react to the splash.
And me.
Oh, baby. I want to reversal him.
All right, so with
full
that...
Full send.
So with Armando's kind of playful attempt at vengeance as he's warming to you slightly, you do indeed, with your expert agility, you saw what was coming.
I full send him.
Okay.
But then the last moment where he would just totally fly off and go in the water, I grab his hand real hard and pull him back up.
So with that, it seems that you understand each other a bit better now, and you get to describe what is the expression on each of your faces at this moment.
I am shocked, for one, that he actually saved me at the last moment. I was, I had attention of guile, obviously, in this moment, so I am definitely there's a little bit more of a connection between him and me, but at the same time, my banner kind of turns a little bit more black.
Do I notice that?
Yes, you do.
Armando, what is that happening to your banner there?
What? And then I look down and I see the blackness and I kind of cover it up, kind of ashamed.
at the sight of it.
And being that he rolled a 6, I think that it would be fitting that your character be willing to share the secret with him.
You see, the thing is the banner carries both my oaths and my sins on it. It is a direct reflection to the evil that is battled inside me and the good which I have in my word.
That's powerful.
Armando, I also want to apologize that we've been at odds.
No more, brother.
We all journey towards conquering our sins, I think.
For Sister Ari?
Yes, for Sister Ari.
And then I push them both off the edge.
Yes!
That's perfect. That's perfect. All right.
No rolls. That's just what happens.
That's what happens.
I'm going to be, as I'm following, man overboard!
So with a laugh, the priests that are on board are able to levitate you, with the exception of Ari, who does not have her abilities at the moment. They levitate you safely back into the boat, and you're able to settle back in with a big old grog to drink. And that was beautiful. I love that. I would like to give both of you an inspiration die for an excellently well-executed moment that was meaningful to both of you. So both of you get the blessing of a bonus inspiration die.
High five.
That's right, for a 5. So the ship continues to sail on through the night, through storms that rage, from the city of Protencio all the way up through the Sea of Shadows through the night. You're able to pass around the Torrent Maw in Brigand's Bay, and it seems that the storm has kept the pirates of Brigand's Bay in their keep, and you thankfully are not intercepted by them. You do make your way all the way up to this very small port that seems to connect with the Imperium Peaks. As the boat docks, you disembark. Captain Tumult gives you all a warm hug, as does Softy, and they say, "I wish you the very best, but you're moving to a place that I wouldn't even dare go." You kind of bid your farewells, and your mighty band of adventurers continue moving. And as you are walking up the path, moving towards the Imperium Peaks, off in the distance, way off to the west, you see mountains that look like this. They are the Scaled Spires. And the Scaled Spires are a very dangerous, deadly-looking series of daggers. And way off in the distance, everyone rolling a d6? So if you rolled a 4 or better on this one, you see, just out of the corner of your eye, 2 very deadly, glowing red eyes that seem larger than they could possibly be, almost like they're projections on the mountain somehow. And those red eyes narrow at you, coming from those peaks. And then those eyes disappear just as soon as they appeared in dangerous smoke. And as you continue moving up the path, you begin to approach, directly in front of you, the glorious, beautiful, heavenly radiance of the Imperium Peaks. They're radiant and beautiful, and as you approach, you gaze up almost a mile up, and you see these massive glowing golden rings. And these golden rings are legendary in that it's said that an entire city is built upon each of these 6 rings around these sacred mountains. And as you approach, you see individuals that look just like your friend Sacris. They seem to be kind of patrolling the ground, and as they see you approach, they look at Sacris and they say, "Sacris? Is that you?" And he takes off his helmet and says, "I have need of the Golden Cathedral." And they're conflicted because you see that they kind of want to help, but they would deeply get in trouble if they helped someone with Sacris's pedigree to return to the city. And they say, "We are tasked to bring all who are in need into the city, but we can guarantee nothing, and you may not come back to the ground." And he says, "It is urgent, and it is a risk I'm willing to take." And they look at him kind of woefully and say, "As you wish."
I put my hand on Sacris's arm. "If you need to, we can finish the journey."
"I'm interested in what you mean."
There's obviously something here that you may not be able to confront. Would it be safer if we went ahead?
"In order to access the sanctum that we are required to enter, I fear that my presence might be the only thing that will allow us in."
"Okay.
"But I thank you." And he rests his mighty clawed finger on your shoulder and he says, "Bless you for being willing to look out for my safety. That means much in these dark times."
Sacris, why is there malice towards you at this place?
The story is far too long for me to get into now, but let me just say that Father Jano and I had a disagreement with the friends that we're about to meet that resulted in, and he glancens up at one of the mountains, that you see that one of the mountains next to the other 6 seems to have a broken and destroyed city upon it with a huge black crater. And he says, I fear that I cannot keep the secret from you much longer. We must ascend. And with that, dozen or so Lux that are on the ground use their mighty wings to fly you up to this central city here. As you all make your way all the way up, you see the glory and the radiance of the golden floating central city, the capital city of Mor'eth.
I will lean into V and go, I will try my best not to make this ring fall.
Excellent. So as you approach, you walk through this golden city and you see these mighty golden parapets that are just shimmering with gold. It looks really gaudy, really opulent, beautiful in a way, but kind of a bit too much. And you approach this massive golden cathedral that's way too large for a cathedral. And Sacris and Ari approach, and they see all the elite king's guard here that are glaring at them, especially glaring at Sacris in a way that's a bit uneasy, says, Menades, I can't believe they've kept you on this long. We need safe passage into the Cathedral of Gold. And the Coinmaster Menades says, Well, Sacris, welcome back. It's a delight to see you again. And Sacris says, dispense with the false pleasantries. We need entry, and we need it now. And at that moment, a Lux that looks remarkably similar to Sacris walks up and says, Sacris, why have you returned to a place that is no longer your home? And Sacris says to his brother, Sanctus, Sanctus, what I have need of does not concern our quarrel. It is far greater than what we have. Sanctus growls uneasily at him and he says, Big brother, you promised never to return, and you are not welcome in the holy city. And Coinmaster Menades says, Now just a moment, Sanctus. And Menades starts playing with golden coins on the table and he says, I'm willing to grant you entrance to the Golden Cathedral, but it will cost you 10,000 gold pieces for you to be added to the list, and then I will submit that list to the proper authorities, and we will return word to you back within the year if we'll be able to get you into the holiest place in the world.
I look at V and go, that's good, right? Oh.
I lean over to Issa.
This is painfully pretentious.
And Coinmaster Menades leans over and says, I heard that! Shut your mouth, cat, or you will not be let into the holy place.
Hey, look, cats and birds hate each other here.
And with that, Sacris storms, just stomps up, and he literally grabs Menades by the cloak and tears him up into the air. And Menades is a pretty short little Lux, and he lifts him up into the air. All of the guards unsheath their weapons, and they growl at Sacris, while Sanctus holds off the guards. And Sanctus says, hold a moment. And Sacris says, Menades, would you like for me to tear off your wings, or will you let me, my friends, and especially that blessed cat that you so kindly greeted, into the Cathedral of Gold?
I'll help you hold him down.
And Menades actually wets himself. You see a puddle forming underneath his feathers, and he says, and he looks over at Sanctus and says, aren't you going to do anything about this? And Sanctus grits his teeth and he says, let them in. And Sacris kind of smiles in a very devious grin and says, good. And he drops him onto his golden chair and just starts marching past him. And Sacris looks over his shoulder and says, my friends, we have little time, but we will enter. And Ari looks up at Sacris very warmly, and the two of them start making haste up the stairs with Sanctus and the Coinmaster.
Who would I see as the most religious of our group besides those two?
Yeah, V is definitely devout.
V? I go, why are there dragons in the bird throne?
That's a very good question. In fact, everyone roll me a d6. All right. So all of you notice briefly that there's kind of a shimmering of red off in the corners of each side near these floating pools. And those of you that rolled 3 or better make out the shape of a red dragon. And
I thought they were statues. Oh my.
Yeah, so you make out the shape of what appears to be kind of like the form of a red dragon, but it disappears instantly. You kind of check your vision to see if you saw what you think you saw, but it kind of haunts you a little bit. It's strange.
I probably thought they were statues and were like, why are there dragon statues here? And he looks up.
Like, what are you talking about?
What?
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly. So it's a very passing glance that you see that.
I'm gonna look at Sacris and say, Luxian?
And he says, we do not speak of his name in this holy place. What? What did you see?
I could have sworn I just saw the outline. I saw something. Is he an influence in this place? I saw a shimmer, a shape that appeared in a split second, and it was red.
That is troubling. We must make haste. We will address it on the inside.
Can Can I grab some of those coins?
Roll me a d6. Let's see if you can steal from the pompous cathedral.
It's a little brash, but we'll see.
All right. Let's see what you get. You do not. In fact, as you reach for the gold, this guard that's right here comes up and eyes at you, smacking your hand, saying,
Wait. I want to play it off like I was not trying to steal at all. Like, totally.
You rolled a 1, dude.
Yeah, but come on, like, guile. Like, lie your way out of it.
What did you roll? Guile?
No. I was saying, like, I tried to do one thing. I tried to steal the stuff without being noticed. I failed to do that. But now I want to try to do a different thing, which is lie to cover up my... Not that he didn't see me, but kind of like...
Okay. I like that. You will receive the punishment of rolling a 1. And that 1 is you are caught by him, and he smacks your hand and says, "Oh, we don't take gold out of that. You put gold in, or you stay with me."
Oh, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Of course not. Of course.
Can I throw some gold in there?
If you wish to save your friend possibly a night in the slammer, it's possible. This Lux is about as tall as you are, Armando. They're a pretty tall race. And the Lux looks at you and says, "Have you any gold, shield bearer?"
I'm going to throw 50 gold in there. Half of what I got. And I'm going to say, for your great city and your great holy man.
Your offering is acceptable. Please take your kitten with you.
Let's go, Leo.
Yeah, let's go.
The guard here kind of backs up into place. He kind of grumbles that Armando was able to get you out of something that would have been kind of nasty there. Excellent. So as you all approach, you look up and you see it is ridiculously gaudily huge. And you get the impression that it's probably built with gold that might not have been attained in the most, righteous of ways. Yeah, you don't get a good vibe from this place, really. And as you enter, you are amazed by the smell of incense that's overpowering, and everything's just gilded and dripping with affluence that does not seem earned. You enter the beauty of the Golden Cathedral. And as you approach, Sacris and Ari approaches these two guards, and Sacris looks down at them and says, "I have returned, and I command you to stand aside." And Acolyte Sikkim, the one over here that was in the midst of preparing for his teaching for the day of whatever he felt like teaching, it might not have touched the book at all. Acolyte Sikkim says, "Oh, Sacris, you've returned to us. Do you have a moral tale for us?" And Sacris says, "You have ignored the truth for far too long, Acolyte. You stand aside, or I will give you something to repent of." Sikkim looks very intimidated, and he has a spine made of jello, and Sikkim says, "Do what you wish, but be gone swiftly. We have a service coming in soon, and there's much gold to gather." And the guards move aside so you have a chance to move in, and Sacris and Ari begin moving, and Ari looks at Sikkim and says, "It seems you haven't changed at all." And she looks at him in a disapproving and saddened way. And the two of them begin moving here all the way through. They welcome you to follow. As they enter the Holy of Holies, it is a sacred place, and as you approach, you see a large golden dais that is facing directly towards a collection of 3 statues. One of them is white, one of them is silver, and one of them is kind of a bronze, and it's pointed directly towards the bronze. And as you approach, Sacris says, "We have arrived at the only device that I'm aware of that may be able to help us find where the lost part of Ari is currently stored."
Do I feel anything as I'm kind of walking in?
Roll me a d6. Okay. Your eyes and your senses are very keen from the previous run-in with the law outside, so you're extra sharp of eyes, and you get an uneasy feeling in this place. It looks pretty. The music that's kind of wafting through sounds good. The lyrics that you're hearing feel kind of empty and lifeless. They're not really praising anything of value.
Do I get like a Holy of Holies feel at all?
You get a something's weird in this place vibe.
I want to talk to Mr. Coinmaster Minides.
Okay. Yeah, so Sanctus approaches and he's trying to protect the Coinmaster and says, "Titan, what need do you have of the Coinmaster?"
I'm going to kind of hold up my ribbon that kind of has blackness on it. It's about half covered with blackness, and say, "I am looking a way to clear my sins, and I think this holy city might be the way."
And the Coinmaster smiles with kind of a gold tooth grin, and he says, "Yes, of course. I would be happy to hear your sins, and I can make them all go away, but it will cost you."
I have given 50 gold already. Is that not enough?
Oh, I didn't hear that you had done that. That must have been an unofficial donation to the Golden Cathedral. Perhaps if you provided me some incentive, I might be able to assist you in your spiritual enlightenment.
Absolutely. Here's 15 gold for your troubles.
And he looks down at it as if you've offered him spit in your hand.
I've got 20 gold.
He yawns.
30 gold.
I'm gonna walk up at this moment. I'm like over listening. Armando, I get what you're saying, but I don't know if this is the right man to seek it from.
Isn't this the way?
V, say it.
That is so meta, and I love it. Armando, Coinmaster Menides looks at you and kind of pitying you in a way financially says, yes, we're happy to accept your meager offerings, and he holds out his feathered hand, and you can place the gold in his hand.
Armando, I'm gonna kind of try to catch him one more time before he does it. It doesn't mean what you think it means. He's just swindling you.
Wise eyes you have, cat.
The Coinmaster's was like begging for the gold.
Let me say it this way. I've swindled many people. And,
got a point.
I can assure you that this man is not for you.
Okay, Armando rolls a 6. His pure confidence in himself does indeed carry through, and you drop the coins into Coinmaster Menides' feathered palm, and he says, good. And he kind of tucks the gold into his jacket pocket where he keeps this bulging pouch, and he says, yes. And he kind of wiggles his hand in a very nonchalant way and says, I bless you with the blessings of happiness and joy, and may you always have good finances. May your finances be abundant and happiness and good times and all that. Bless you, my child. Whatever.
Thank you. And my banner, will it just take time?
He looks down at the banner and he says, oh, you're one of them. Oh, no. Yes, of course. It takes some time for these things to give it a week. Come back in a week maybe, and if you need extra clean.
Enough now before they finish this, I can't stomach it.
So Coinmaster Menides is desperately trying to cover his snake oil sales pitch there of you paying him for forgiveness, and he says, yes, you'll be just fine. Just make sure you leave the Imperium Peaks, and don't keep the receipt. We'll be fine.
Thank you so much, and I'll toss 10 gold, and then I'll leave him.
Oh, and he dives for the gold. He's like, oh, and he dives for it and kind of laps it up like a disgusting dog off in the corner as he tries to pick up the last few pieces.
And I am very broke now.
Sanctus looks at you and looks at Coinmaster Menides, and he just sighs deeply with a very burdened heart over what he just saw, glances at you and says, Titan, this way. He follows behind you, kind of ashamed at what he just saw on behalf of Coinmaster Menides.
Okay, I will walk into the room.
And Sanctus nods at each of the Lux that are guarding the pathway, and he says at ease as he walks the rest of the way in. So with that, as you approach, Sacris says to Ari, beloved Ari, I fear that what must be done now is necessary, but it will not be the most pleasant experience. Are you still willing to do this for the sake of your ultimate healing? And Ari looks over at V and Issa and Armando and Kaz, and she breathes deeply and says, for the sake of what is at stake, I feel that I must. And she approaches the dais and puts both hands on these golden wings that's out in front of her, and she grips tightly onto both of them, and she breathes deeply, closes her eyes, and Sacris says, we must begin. And Sacris looks at Ari in a forlorn, sad way as he sees Ari starting to glow a very bright white, and she seems to have lost all of her ability to heal at this moment, but the device itself seems to be flooding the room with a white light, and it envelops her completely, and she breathes heavily as it starts to lift her up off the ground, and you can see that in the statue right before her, there seems to be a shifting, shimmering vision, and the vision seems to be soaring over landscapes, and you see the city of Protencio, and you see the desert oases, and you see the swamplands, and it's just soaring and soaring and soaring as if this compass is trying to find something. And all at once, this slams into a visage of a very dark, clouded region across the plains, and you see this tall structure shadowed and shrouded in mystery. She's like, I feel a connection, but I cannot see. And right when that happens, I would like for all of you to roll a d6.
This is always a good sign.
Always a good sign. All right, so as that happens, Issa, the hair on the back of your neck is tingling. It is raw with a wretched and vile feeling that's encroaching upon this very opulent and golden place. And in a moment, you feel a surge of energy hit this place as a portal opens up.
Wasn't me. I didn't touch anything. So V knows it wasn't me.
I know this time.
That's right.
Okay, so everyone can have their shock face on. 3, 2, 1.
God bless you. That is Oscar grade acting. You hear the crack of lightning and thunder, and a dangerous and violent storm erupts in the midst of the cathedral. It's like an arcane storm that's swirling all around. And just as this device was starting to connect Ari with what she thinks is a vision of a part of herself that is missing, you see these portals open, and the most wretched, vile, and disgusting creatures that you've never seen before, the strange series of creatures, pour out of these portals. And Issa, you barely had enough time to see what was coming, and you dodged out of the way. Armando, because you rolled dirty, crappy, bad, Armando, you're very distracted by what's going on, and you do indeed immediately get hit by this wretched eye stab. The eye stab, it's a creature, none of you have ever seen these creatures before. He lashes out with these mighty tendrils and tries to fully envelop your skull and starts crushing part of your head. And Armando, I'd like for you to roll a d6 to see how much damage you take. Thankfully, you rolled a 4, which means you take 1 less damage, but you do indeed take a chunk of 8 damage, even with your 1 point damage reduction. So a total of 8 damage, and our tank is now rough off in the ouchie land, as they say.
Get on it, V.
As they do say, yes. The very
in ouchie land, that's right.
Ouchie.
In ouchie land, that's what's happening. So Armando, you let out a cry as the eye stab hits you with a violent strike that knocks you a little dizzy, and you're reeling in pain.
Ouchie.
Also, the Mind Bane reaches out and hits Kaz right here. And Kaz, in just a moment, your mind starts to be flooded with every fear you've ever had. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of that one time that you said something that was foolish and horrible and you regretted it. Everything that you've done that you wish you did not floods your mind, combined with a screeching, wretched, terrible screaming sound in your mind. And you clutch your head. Roll me a d6, a 1. Dang! Okay, it hurts really bad.
We're all gonna die.
And it feels like your skull is about to explode open with the pressure on your thoughts and on your mind, and you do indeed take 6 points of damage.
Wait, do you have any flavor for those thoughts? I want to know.
Yeah, what are some of the thoughts that you remember?
Just one at least.
Yeah, just one thought that comes to mind as a result of the Mind Bane.
Is it being in the sewer without your shoes on?
I should have had my shot.
No, it would probably be flames around and encircling me, closing in on me.
So your mind projects fake flames. You're seeing the illusion of fake flames that are all around you, and it's terrifying, and you grip your skull as you cry in terror, and the Mind Bane starts feasting on your fears and your thoughts. At that exact moment, the Dream Eater and our Constrictor in the back here start latching onto Acolyte Baron, and Dream Eater starts latching on to Acolyte Eric, and you hear wretched cries of terror as they begin ravaging both of these innocent men. With that, Issa, you do indeed get to be the first to respond to these wretched attacks. What do you do?
I'm going to stand back and I'm going to look around the room and get a keen eye for where everyone is positioned and enact my Sniper's Wrath.
Excellent.
So I'm going to notch 1 flaming arrow in my bow, which my arrows are actually made of divine light. And for each enemy outside melee range, deal 1d6 plus 5. If I roll a 5 or a 6, they will burst into flames, getting an extra d6.
Excellent. Roll it out. Let's see how fiery those arrows are. So that's a rock solid 7.
Yeah, so I hit everyone in the room because they're all outside my melee range.
Excellent. There's a line of sight blocker going on. All the ones you can see, you do indeed nail right when you need to. And that is a beefy 7 damage. And the eye stab, you actually puncture one of its 6 eyes.
Could she move to here and hit Dream Eater?
That would be within line of sight. Would you like to do that, Issa?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so you do indeed move. Now that you're in line of sight of 3, the Dream Eater here, the Mind Bane here, and the Eye Stab here, all of them do indeed take a pummeling 7 damage. The Mind Bane here, you shoot it directly through one of his brains. He's got multiple brains kind of all around him, and it punctures one of his brains, and he shrieks with a roar of "Ah!" The Eye Stab, you were able to shoot directly through one of his eyes, and he's now 1/6 blinded. And the Dream Eater that was feasting upon the Acolyte Eret, that was just about to shred the rest of his clothes here and dig into his flesh, an arrow pierces him right in the back leg, and he cries and whips his head around to you and hisses. And that is a mighty strike from Issa. Well done. Coming up next, we have the mighty V. What do you do now that you're in a place of quote-unquote righteousness, priest?
I am going to heal Kaz with my AoE heal, because I haven't used it yet, and it sounds fun to use, so let's do that.
Excellent. Let's give
So
it a
I roll
shot.
2d6 plus 4.
Alrighty. So you indeed are doing a burst of light.
Yes, correct.
All right, so you unleash a mighty burst of light, your standard AoE heal. You call forth the spirit of righteousness, which this place could probably use. Strengthening an ally, healing 2d6 plus 4 to all allies in the target's melee range. Add +1 healing for each foe in melee range. Ooh. And the Mind Bane is definitely in melee range of Cause, so you gain the benefit of your excellent tactical choice. Add +1 healing for each foe in melee
I was going to say heal Armando because he's got way more damage on him than me.
What? Does he? He's got 22. He's fine.
I got only 6 damage on me. He's got 8.
But he has a higher health pool than you.
That's true. All right, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah.
Armando's fine.
Never reject a pocket healer, bro.
Armando's fine.
I would like to object to this.
No. Let me die. Help the guy with armor. But yeah. So, you do indeed heal Cause for 13 health. That spikes you right back up to full.
Wow.
So, Cause, in this holy place...
great over here.
I'll get you later, don't worry.
He got you, fam.
You're next.
That's right. So, Cause, you are back to full health, thankfully, and your mind is cleared in just an instant of the fear and the pain and the rejection and the fire. Everything that has crushed your soul and your spirit that brings you down, it is lifted from you as V winks at you and smiles broadly. So, coming up next, we have the stealthy and sneaky Leo. What do you do?
I'm actually gonna be like pretty upset that Cause is getting totally hammered on here, and he's, even though he just got healed, still kind of like upset me just because I saw him in that moment. He's kind of like, that fear, the fire creeping in on him and everything. Yeah. And I just jump onto the wall and bounce off, rip him off to the ground, land a dagger in him.
Fantastic.
I'll do Sky Strike, so I'll pounce upon my prey from range, taking advantage of the momentum, dealing 2d6 and adding 4 damage for each foe I leap over.
Fantastic.
I need to know this right now. Did you make a cat person because you have a pounce ability? I just need to check for my own peace of mind.
I cannot confirm or deny. So yeah, I'm gonna totally pounce off the wall right here and take this guy off of him.
Excellent.
Great.
Damage. So you sink your dagger super deep into one of the Mind Bane's brains, and you slice his brain off. He's got a bunch of these brains. So one of them flops to the ground, starts wiggling, and he sends out a shriek of... and he starts trying to lash you with his tendrils, and it's not doing anything useful. It's funky. It's weird.
Where do I stab it?
There's too many juicy things. What do I do? All right. So with that, Leo, that is excellent, and Cause definitely benefits from your heroism. Coming up next, after Leo, we indeed have Cause in the lineup.
Question is, yes, Ice Stab considered a minion?
Yes, all 4 of these that you see are minions.
Great. I'm going to do Immortal Archon. My eyes will glow, and then I will glow and grow brighter with intensity, and then I will become pure arcane energy, blasting a single target for 3d6.
It's happening, guys. It's about to happen. The mighty Cause becomes pure energy, blasting a single target for 3d6 damage. Cause then explodes. He, in his explosion, vaporizes a damaged minion of your choice. You gain that minion's secret knowledge and consciousness before reassembling into your mortal form.
I'll lift up and glow with energy, reach out toward Ice Stab. Energy arcs off of me and just blast it with my Immortal Archon.
Guys, we got to see an Arcanist be Immortal Archon. Yes! It's freaking awesome.
Last Ice Stab for 12, and then I will blow up and steal Mind Brain's secret knowledge.
That is insane. All right, so yeah, Ice Stab takes a whole hurt of damage. You sear off 2 more of his eyeball sticking out tendrils, this nasty monstery junk, and you do indeed explode, and you vaporize the Mind Bane. And in doing so, while you're kind of just floating around as this pure ball of energy, your mind is flooded with bizarre sights and sounds and tastes and senses that human beings don't have, other senses and weird kind of awarenesses.
Like tasting with your feet.
It's like tasting with your feet, exactly. And your mind is flooded with far-off places that looks so strange that physics works differently. Creatures that you've never seen before. And you experience kind of a euphoria sensing what this creature has experienced, and when you reassemble from light itself and you touch down onto the ground, your eyes open and your eyes are still glowing this bright white as the energy recoalesces into you, and you say, I know Kung Fu. Or whatever you would like to say. What is the cool thing that you say after you've done something insanely awesome?
I will say, as I look towards the ashes of the Mind Bane, I'll say, irredeemable.
Ooh, that's spicy. I like that.
Wow.
Has some lore to it. So the Mind Bane, there's nothing left to loot. There's nothing left to do. It's just this explosion of bleh everywhere. And that was insanely awesome. And Arcanists are freaking sweet. So, coming up next, we have the mighty Armando. And it looks like you are in Ouchie land, as they say.
Okay, I am going to head towards my group of people, and I'm going to get close to these three guys, and I'm going to do a shield block. For the next round, essentially, I can reduce damage by 5 to these three people, or anyone who's near me in general.
That's right.
And also, when someone tries to do damage to one of my friends, I can roll a d6, and if I get a 5 or 6, I can reflect that damage back towards them.
It's a beefy ability.
Damage. So I am basically guarding my 3 buddies next to me. Sorry, Issa. You're far away.
That's okay.
She's safe for now. That is a very sacrificial thing to do. You are spending your turn to protect those that are likely to take an insane amount of damage soon. And Kaz, Leo, and V, as well as Sanctus, he's just within melee range there, they do indeed receive the shielding that they so desperately need. Thank you, Armando.
Yes, thank you.
You basically just kind of healed for 20 there with the damage that's coming in.
I will Armando you.
He Armand did. I love this guy. All right, so with that, the Dream Eater, no longer distracted by the arrow that was embedded in his leg, continues to eat away at Acolyte Eric as he cries out, and his leg seems very badly torn up by the fangs of the Dream Eater. And the Constrictor here has almost fully wrapped around Acolyte Baron. So he's shrieking in a level of terror that you rarely have heard this side of a nightmare. Also, Eye Stab, as he's flailing his tendrils around, he glances over at the Lux Guard over here, and he sees fresh meat, and he pounces upon him and just sucks him completely dry of his energy, and he collapses in a puddle of feathers and armor.
Oh no!
And he looks at Issa and just kind of hisses with eyes wide open, and he tries to jump at you. And Issa, roll me a d6. Issa rolled a 3, so you take 1 additional damage as his barbed tendrils just stabbing at you at 1,000 stabs a second. You take it into your shoulder armor multiple times, and you do indeed take 7 points of damage. And Issa, you get to describe what it feels like when he's on you.
I just feel this gooey, nasty, smelly thing just constantly coming at me with a barrage of dagger-like appendages and hitting me everywhere that he can possibly reach. There's just punctures everywhere.
Oh, that is a mighty pain. And the Eye Stab continues to stab at you for several seconds as you try to break free. At that moment, Ari, in the middle there, she's gripping this dais tightly, trying to focus her thoughts on connecting with the other part of her essence through this vision of the portal. And Sakura says, "Hold on, Ari." And he tries to steady her and trying to press into her additional healing to focus the effort. V, it is your turn.
All right.
It's go time. Holy man in the house. Holy man in the
Let's get
house.
some heals on here.
Yeah.
I'm going to use my Divine Inspiration on Issa. Get her out of harm's way. Man, you're fine. You got all that. Take 5 less damage.
No, I understand.
5 less damage. You're fine. You're fine.
I may or may not shield you if attack comes your way.
You're fine. You just paid for your sins to be cleansed. You're okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Man's got
It takes a week. 1 week.
1 week.
So with this ability, I choose a champion, Issa. She'll be limited out of harm's way and double her damage for 1 round. And I heal for 1d6 plus 5 when they land. So let's see what you get. Oh, well, that wasn't so great.
At least you get a solid 6 out of it. And who are you targeting with that?
Issa.
Excellent. So Issa, thank God your brother V noticed your plight and indeed pulled you up out of the hell that you were being attacked by. You were levitating up in the air, and when you land, you'll be healed for 6 health, which you could very much use at this point. Issa, it is your turn.
I want to get rid of this eyeball dude. He's really annoying me, so I'm just going to quick shot him right in the face.
Excellent.
Fire a deadly arrow at range, dealing 2d6 plus 3.
Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum.
I'm loving it.
All right, 2d6 plus 3. Okay, so you hit him for a solid 7. When you smack him right in his last open eye with your excellently aimed quick shot, you do indeed exact the vengeance that you so richly deserved as he cries out one final gasp of and he falls to the ground and dissipates with a violent eruption of lightning and red smoke. And he is no more. That is excellent. All right, Leo, you are up.
I'm hearing these shrieks back here, so can I make it back to this room and help this guy out?
You're remarkably mobile.
All right, I will burst through the door and see this guy getting just mauled by this constrictor. I'll just do a normal shadow slice, come up behind him as he's on him, pull him off, and like go Assassin's Creed style.
Perfect. I like it. You do exactly that. Go ahead and roll that beefy damage.
12.
Excellent. So with your haste and zest, you are indeed able to sink your mighty daggers directly into this beast that has been constricting and tightening around Acolyte Baron. Acolyte Baron was starting to turn red in the face as his neck was being constricted and his body was being crushed, and he collapses to the ground, gasping for breath, and he looks up at you and says, "Thank you." He seems conflicted because he's not a huge fan of your kind, I'm guessing, but this is the first good thought he's had of your kind.
I just kind of have him down on the ground. I have the blade in him, and then I just kind of smug it. It's like smile at him, kind of smirk.
That's right. And he crawls backwards on his hands and knees and scampers desperately outside here now that he has a free moment. At that moment, this guard rounds the corner and says, "What seems to be the commotion in here?" And he looks over at the constrictor, and the constrictor jumps on him and lashes around his arms and legs and completely just crushes him whole. His armor falls to the ground and gasps his last as he is no more.
Anyone else hearing the squid people sounds from Galaxy Quest?
That is exactly what's happening.
A little bit.
That is what it sounds like, yeah.
All right.
Insert sound effect here.
Exactly. All right, Kaz, you are up next, brother.
I'll move here. Can I swap Sanctus with somebody?
Sanctus is a friendly. Yeah, he's an ally, and he's not a boss, so you can swap him.
Sanctus, I choose you to be useless.
Alrighty.
How'd you put him over here?
All right, so in that moment, Sanctus is just kind of ripped out of space and time. He was just about to start slicing at the nearest creature, and as he's slicing, he gets teleported through space and time, and his blade slices all the way through the table that alchemist Alcor was working at, and 100 potions fly up into the air and smack into each other, and they kind of explode in this puff of pink and yellow and green mist, and Sanctus is completely covered in this weird kind of colorful mist that he's kind of coughing and moving around, and he goes, "Was that an Arcanist?"
Cause?
And he takes a moment to try to recollect himself, and as that happens, the Dream Eater is equally confused, but he was doing a bunch of damage on Acolyte Eret. He now has a new target. He is eyeing Ari with great interest, and he jumps at Ari, and V and Sacris are going to roll to see if they can do anything in time. V, can you go ahead and roll me a d6, please, before the Dream Eater gets to Ari? Okay, you rolled way better than Sacris. Sacris is still so focused on trying to help Ari and stabilize her as she's shaking and violently moving back and forth, trying to steady this compass. And V, you just in time were able to see what's happening, and you're able to intercept if you wish before the Dream Eater launches at Ari.
Oh, I'll jump in the way. Sacrifice my body to save her.
Oh, dude, as it's like jumping, you should just like take your hammer and like, onto the ground.
I don't know if my roll was good enough.
I like that idea. Let's roll a d6 on the hammer swing and see if we can get something good to happen there.
Oh!
Yeah!
We got a 6! All right, you tell me exactly how you stop that wretched beast from feasting upon your beloved friend.
Oh, I jump as high as I can, and I come down clean on top of its head with my hammer, dropping it right down the middle.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
Drop it like it's hot.
Oh, all right. So yeah, you do a ridiculous, like, Matrix level whoosh, awesome priestly move, and as you come down, you crush the entirety of its right shoulder, and it goes limp, and it whips its head up at you like, and you saved Ari's life, and that was insane, and that was awesome. So with that, Leo, you are up.
Sweet. I will take this guy to the wall, slam him into this wall right here, and then pull him, stab him into the wall and like slide down all the way through him.
That is freaking
so that'll
awesome.
Be a regular shadow slice.
8.
Yes, 4 plus 4. That's right. Yeah. Excellent. So with your agility and masterful management of the terrain, also being that the constrictor was distracted while attacking the very disintegrated and crushed guard there, you slice down with a mighty 8 damage, and this thing cries out with a wild and wretched amount of pain, and he tries to cleave onto you in this moment, and I'd like for you to roll a d6 to see in its last gasp what he's able to do to you. Ooh.
I will use my inspiration dice.
It's happening! It's happening! All right, you feel an inspiration. Will you roll better than Kaz?
Oh!
What the heck? That is rigged! The number generator is broken.
I have a.
Oh!
What?
2 ones in a row! 2 ones in a row!
This
Okay,
is my true destiny, whatever happens to me.
Okay, so that was very unlikely, and you were inspired to be eaten by a monster. So that's a thing. So this guy, in his last gaffes, as he's just desperately flailing tentacles around and around and around, you do get the better of him, but he does a knocking on you on the way out. He lasts his tentacles around you. As he's tightening around you, you do indeed take 5 points of damage, but with this like raw anger and adrenaline and rage of the misfortune of 2-1 rolls, single rolls in a row, just with raw, pure retribution of the frustration of RNG, you take your daggers and you slice outward and you slice off every single one of the constrictor's arms, and it falls down to the ground just writhing in agony, and it gives one big toothy last roar of
And I throw a dagger in its eye.
yes, that's exactly what you do. Exactly what you do. As this sucker was just screeching its last, the second the dagger pins its way through its head, it's like he hit the mute button. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. In your room, there is silence, and you earned that damn silence. And you stand triumphantly upon this goopy mess that you have dominated with your retribution.
But then I
your
look back
room,
at my wounds, and I'm just like.
at least you didn't drop the dagger on your foot, so I mean, they're upset.
That's true. It could be worse.
So through the pain, through the fight, you are victorious, and your room is clear of the constrictor. Well done, Leo. Well done, Leo. Good stuff. All right, coming up next, Issa, you are next.
I'm gonna do my Sniper's Wrath, and I'm gonna hit Dream Eater right in the head.
Okay. Do it.
Do it.
And you have your double damage.
That's true.
Oh!
That's right. You were blessed by V's levitation. You were
Oh,
blessed.
that's right! Yay!
God bless the priest.
Whoa!
Ooh, so
I just
16?
thought V.
Ooh.
Stealth.
Oh, you know it's about
Oh,
to
yeah.
And
I'm trying to figure that out.
That's
Dude, that would
Yeah.
literally be like 160 damage or something
Yeah.
crazy.
Like every time we're like my initiation's so low, so it's like, is it ever gonna work?
Oh man, one day, man, one day I'll stealth and you'll double my damage, and I will
It'll be
clear
like
a room.
48.
I'll clear a room with one mad sprint.
Everyone buff the rogue and we'll be fine.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, one day.
All right, and Issa, because you rolled 8 and it's doubled damage because of V's mighty buff, you deal 16 damage to the Dream Eater. And holy crap, he was not expecting that. Think about this. 3 seconds ago, he was in a different room eating a dude. And in 3 seconds, he got teleported, jumped at a beautiful elven priestess, got shoulder checked by V, and then hammered. And now you're pinning him with an insane level of arrows to the skull parts.
Wait, this Dream Eater is drinking? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Love it.
Got hammered.
No, man. Literally hammered. Ayo. So the Dream Eater takes a devastating amount of damage from the precision and might of your bow. And Issa, you get to describe exactly how the Dream Eater meets his demise.
I'm gonna step back and squint my eyes and notch my bow and go completely, and then just close my eyes and let the arrows fly. There's 3 arrows that hit him straight in the head.
Oh, gentlemen, I give you Issa. Oh, yeah. Well done. Well done.
Aw,
And the Dream Eater, who was scurrying rapidly towards our beloved Ari, intercepted by V, and finally put to the end of his wretched existence, the Dream Eater retches out a mighty cry of "Ah!" and the last of his energy disperses completely as he becomes a nightmare that is sucked into this central portal. As that happens, the room begins to quake.
Oh.
And everyone, I'd like for you to roll a d6.
Donnie!
Complete with Armando visual effects.
Oh my gosh, my number.
What in tarnation are these one rolls? Ouchie McOuchtown,
He
USA.
just automatically assumes it's my causing.
It's like, when in doubt, why not?
No,
All right.
I'm
What'd you
getting,
do this
getting
time?
these out of the system.
All right, so with that, the earth shakes. The chandeliers on the top of the beautiful cathedral start crashing down to the ground, and it becomes dark. The lights start being puffed out. All that you can see is the glow of the dais here in the middle that Ari and Sakris are desperately trying to keep ignited as they're getting closer and closer to seeing where the other part of her is. And in that moment, everybody that rolled a 3 or less, you are clutching your skull in a wretched, unthinkable level of pain, and you collapse onto the ground for a moment.
Even if I'm in the other room?
Yes, this is a very big aura-based ouchie. So with that, a mighty Fear Lord erupts out of this portal and begins screeching without sound. It is a penetrating, mind-searing, slicing, shredding of your consciousness. Kaz, do you remember what you experienced just a few minutes ago? Okay, well, for those of you that rolled 3 or less, what you're experiencing is that on steroids. Not just every actual thing that you've done wrong in life, every guilt, every fear, also everything that could possibly happen that you worry about, floods your mind at once, and you cry with a wretched fury as your knees quake and you wish that the ground would swallow you whole and end you so that your mind would stop screaming at you in a way that is unbearable. And with that, the Fear Lord has these 4 mighty tendrils that lash out in the directions of those of you that roll 3 or less. Sanctus, at this moment, in the other room, hears the cry of everyone that rolled 3 or less, and he bursts through this doorway, and the Fear Lord blasts him with a level of energy that, V, you might recognize. It's a very dark form of kind of inverted healing. Blended with the arcane. It's a weird and twisted kind of energy that is not holy, and it smacks Sanctus up against the back of the wall, and it knocks the wind out of him, and he crashes down to the ground, clutching his chest. And it is indeed V's turn to react.
So Armando needs some healing.
Finally.
Armando, I got you. I told you I wouldn't leave you leave you out there by yourself.
I got you now. You go fight that thing.
Cascade.
You go fight that thing.
We do Cascade. 2d6. Any points of overhealing damages all enemies in melee range of
Very good.
my target.
Okay.
Lots of great there.
Okay, you do indeed roll a 4. That's exciting. So you do indeed call forth a holy radiance upon an ally, and you do heal your brother Armando for 4 health, and he is very thankful for it, I would imagine.
About time.
Well, he has different ways of expressing his gratitude. All right, so with that, the Fear Lord begins to twist your thoughts inside out, and he begins to start convincing all of you of things that are not true. I would like for all of you to roll another d6. This is a standard defense roll. All right, so what happens is, as he's trying to invert your thoughts and your dreams, you start to clutch your mind. It's like 1,000 screeches going out, 6 damage. The Fear Lord actually grows in size as he starts absorbing the worst of your fears and your nightmares, and his tendrils start to wrap around the soul compass, and you can feel that Ari is struggling to focus and struggling to stay connected to that part of herself that she's trying to reconnect with. The Fear Lord starts to constrict around her neck, and it is now Leo's turn.
Sensing that there are bad things happening somewhere, I think I'm going to do Dark Trickster. I'm going to become one with the shadows, instantly appearing behind a foe, stealing their weapon and striking them with it, dealing 3d6 plus 5. So I will become one with the shadows and appear behind this guy. I'm going to just kind of start going ham on him, honestly. Trying to cut off any tentacle that I can.
Excellent.
That will be 15 total damage.
Ooh, excellent. And you get to slice off one of these rear, it looks kind of like a leg, it's a flipper type thing. And as you slice that off of his body, he starts to stumble in and out of the portal. It cries out, not verbally, but in a way that each of you can hear in your mind. And he turns one of his eyes behind to you, and he tries to strike you with his mighty tendrils, and he misses due to your excellent slice there.
I immediately re-stealth.
That's right. Very well done. Next up, Kaz, you have an opportunity to take your turn. Go for it.
Okay, do my ethereal friend. Let me make the colors again.
It's so pretty.
Hello. It's beautiful.
Trying to block any more tentacles from getting Ari.
Excellent.
He will do 10 damage. This one will look like the beefier elf again.
Fantastic. So it's a specific look that you're going for, a specific individual that you're trying to mirror. Beautiful. All right, so with that, it does indeed erupt for 10 damage, and the tendrils that were wrapping around Ari's neck recoil in a level of pain due to your ability to sear it with a cleaner form of arcane. All right, so with that, Sakras and Ari are continuing a desperate channel. Ari is like, I'm getting close. I think I can see something. And through the portal, even around the Fear Lord that's kind of phasing in and out of visibility, she sees the outlines of what appears to be some kind of tower that is kind of warping in and out of visibility. There's thunder and lightning all around it, and dark clouds that are not natural, and her eyes open wide as a voice from the beyond says, I see you. And 2 red eyes ignite in the portal, and it seems that as she was reaching out and made a connection with wherever the other part of her being exists, that being over there also connected to her, and you see a massive amount of red energy building up inside the portal as it's about to strike. And it is indeed Armando's turn.
Armando, help!
As this red energy is pooling, you can feel a crackling and a very dangerous swelling of energy all around the Fear Lord from behind him. Sacris says, Armando, I need your shield. Sacris actually lets go of Ari and summons not one but two shields from both of his light-based weapons, and he presses in front of Ari, desperately trying to protect her, about to withstand what is about to come.
I will do Shockwave ability, leap into the air and shatter the earth, knocking all enemy and minions to the ground, stunning them. So I'm trying to prevent whatever he's about to do here.
Excellent.
And so I will roll 2d6s. I will do
Excellent.
9 damage.
That's a tank dealing 9 damage. Hoorah, hoorah. All right, so with that, you are able to successfully shatter the tile that's all around this dais. The dais seems strangely untouchable. There's something unique about this dais that seems to be resistant to physical damage, even from the chandeliers falling, even from the Fear Lord pressing on it with its full weight. This dais just seems to continue to be spinning, and this compass continues to be pointing and shifting with light waves. Armando, you are able to crush the front two tentacles with your shockwave. It gets buried underneath in the rocks that are broken up as a result of the tile fragmenting, and this Fear Lord looks at you for the very first time. The Fear Lord appears to have fear. Due to your righteous inspiration, Sacris says to you, now is the time. I need your shield. And at that exact moment, I would like for everyone in the room to roll a d6. Ooh, crap. All right, Issa, you're the only one not horribly affected by this. Everyone that rolled a 5 or lower, a impossible level of energy that should not be capable of Arcanist or Priest or anything, explodes forth out of this portal. It actually vaporizes what was left of the Fear Lord. It is targeted directly at Ari, but the fragmentation and the explosion of what's coming out, the embers of a fire almost, hit all of you for 9 points of damage. At this moment, Sacris's eyes widen as he presses both of his armed shields forward as hard as he possibly can, and he begins crying in agony. He's directly in the front of this directional strike. Those of you that got this little bit of damage are on the outsides, but he's pressing and he's roaring in agony as he's pressing, and his shields start to shake, and you can see the light that's being generated out of his bucklers starting to fragment and shatter as if glass is starting to break, and he looks desperately over at Armando.
I'm going to hold up my shield and join him in a defense.
Excellent. So the two of you do move between you and the portal. So the Fear Lord indeed has been vaporized by the strike that's coming out of this portal here.
Can I feel my footing giving out since there's so much energy, or?
Yes, you can. So in that moment, you see a materialization through the portal of an image, Irricon Sol. And the red eyes that you could see through the portal become sharper and more visible as the fog of this portal clears away, and you can see his wrath as his robes, bright red, bursting backwards as if being blown by a hurricane itself, and he's reaching out with his hand, and he's blasting you with a level of energy that none of you think is possible to generate. And he says to you, I see you, and your death is certain. He continues to blast the entire room with this energy, and Ari looks with wild fear over at Armando. She rips her hands away just in time as she tries to cover her face, and Armando and Sacris look at each other directly straight forward at Irricon Sol, and there's an explosion that comes from the dais, and it meets head on with the energy that's crashing towards the shields. And at that exact moment, Armando, I need for you to roll me a d6.
Gotcha.
You want to use that inspiration?
I would like to use my inspiration at this moment.
Armando.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do better than a 1.
No, that is fake.
Wait. I have one more inspirational die.
That's true.
And I would like to use the last inspirational die.
2 1s in a row. Can we get something other than a 1?
3, 1.
Yes!
Oh my god.
I wanted the 3 1s personally.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So this clash of energy, this white energy and this deadly dark red energy smashes into each other right on the two of you shield bearers, and Sacris leans into it And Armando, you can see his first shield weakening when you rolled that first one. You can see his second shield weakening when you rolled that first one. And he looks at you with wide eyes as you lean into it and you try to press your shield in front of him as well, as you're bearing the entire brunt of this wretched force that's bearing down upon you. And you cry a mighty cry, and Sacris and his shields and his weapons are blown backwards as you see this energy wash over him and burn his face and burn his chest and melt his armor. And his wings are immediately singed all the way off, and he's slammed all the way across the room as he cries a desperate roar, slammed against the wall, and he collapses on the ground. And Iracon's soul and the portal are completely sucked out of the room as this crash of explosion dissipates the portal. And Iracon's soul disappears, and the portal closes, as do all in the room. And the room is quiet as you see Sacris on the ground, burnt and disfigured beyond recognition. He's desperately trying to kind of reach towards Ari, who has run to him. All of his feathers have been burnt off, his flesh is singed, his armor is melting, and he's reaching up for all of you.
Run to his side. I look to V. Can you heal him?
He's still burning in some areas, and he's not looking good.
Place my hands on him, and I'll try to heal him.
Sacris looks up into each of your eyes as you gaze down upon him. He says to V, "You may try all you wish, but I don't know if any good can be done for me." And he looks up at each and every one of you, and you can see that he's labored in his breathing, and all of you kneel down beside him, and as he looks up into your face, he tries to smile his last, and he says, "What is death in the eyes of eternity?" And as he tries to smile one last time, he breathes his last.
I think Kaz would try to get V to bring him back. And keep trying to get V to bring him back.
And Ari collapses on the chest of her beloved friend, and she weeps bitterly.
I collapsed on top of Ari.
I think I would still try to get V to bring him back.
And Kaz,
irrationally.
As you begin clawing at your friend Sacris, out of one of his pockets, a very small, thin glass rolls out and hits your foot.
Kaz would probably stop and pick it up, and he would probably cry.
And you now have your friend's final gift to you. You have a matched set. And Ari looks up at Sanctus, Sacris's brother, as Sanctus approaches, and he removes his golden helmet, and he falls to his knees, and he weeps. And he says, "There's so much that I wish I could have said, and I scorned him in my final moments." And Ari looks up at each of you and says, "By his sacrifice, I know where we must go to save the end of all days. We must go to a place that has more power than should be possible. We must go to the dreaded tower, a curriculum where our fates will be decided for Sacris." end chapter 2.
Well written, sir. Well written.
Alrighty.
Now I'm gonna come punch you for making me cry.
Mm-hmm.
That was not on video.
So,
V, bring him back!
You have one job, man! One job!
I'm a healer, not a bring back the lifer.
We don't care!
all right. So now we have a chance to talk about your secret objectives, your ulterior motives for this particular chapter. Leah, would you be so kind as to share with us yours first?
Sure. My ulterior motive was to learn more about my tribe, because I knew we were going to the jungle.
Mhm.
And I've heard that there are some other Lenons there, so I was like wanting to get any more information, which I did. So
Excellent. And there are many secrets to dive into concerning the specific nature of what your tribe did and the details of those moments that led up to the betrayal.
I just wanted to gain some more information. I have at least a better picture rather than like no picture. So.
I'm so happy that you took that opportunity to kind of lean into that lore-wise, and there's a lot more to explore there. So I'm thankful that you did that. Kaz, what was your ulterior motive for chapter 2?
My ulterior motive was that I don't kill any sentients.
Oh, I think you're good.
I wanted to continue I haven't killed anyone yet.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't brought down any non-monster things.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Each of these creatures in this room were not sentient.
That's
in the
why I
traditional way.
asked, because I was like, wait, I would have a different reaction than if I got secret knowledge and it was a sentient creature. I was like, hold on. I would probably freak out instead. Like,
Exactly. One of the blessings of having Sam in the group is that Sam has a deep history with tabletop and is a gifted storyteller, and his ability to do things like that with character, as many of you did throughout this story, to have a moral code within your character that directly affects gameplay is beautiful, and it blesses my soul to see Kaz you taking that level of character development seriously and beautifully. That's artwork there. That is craftsmanship.
it fits well with his backstory too. He does not want to cross that line if he can.
Well said. Well said. Lovely Issa, would you be so kind as to share with us your ulterior motive?
My ulterior motive was actually to see if I could turn a combat encounter around.
Ooh.
Instead of killing everyone, to actually preserving life instead of just killing everybody. So that was my ulterior motive.
That's powerful. And in that battle with the Pardus tribe in the jungle, none of the cats died as a result of your willingness to approach one of them openly and honestly, and that was pretty cool. That was.
I just thought it would mean a little bit more to not necessarily always. There is a value to be had in not always going immediately for a weapon, and instead trying to actually negotiate or find out more to preserve life instead of end it.
Yeah, real role-playing games aren't a hack and slash.
Yes. Exactly. And I love that you guys didn't play it that way.
Exactly. Go deeper than that instead of like, well, I just blasted it in the face, and that's.
Could have done that on a video game.
Exactly. We've all played the Stat Wars where you just get more loot and you keep going. This is a different experience, and you guys are leaning into it in a beautiful way. Coming up next, V, what was your ulterior motive?
Well, I just wanted to heal everybody once throughout this campaign. I didn't think I was going to get it at the end, but I got Armando, and I was like, we did it.
About time.
It only took until the final boss battle in Chapter 2 to heal the tank.
I was like, oh boy, this guy.
As he's limping out with the leg hanging behind him.
I got there finally.
That's a pro healer right there. Did anyone die? People were close, but
Nobody died.
A round of applause for our healer, V.
Paz got really close.
V, that is a professional healing job.
Is there a down system in this, or like?
There is, and we were getting dangerously close for me to teach you guys about the death system.
I had 3 health left.
Yeah,
I'm glad we haven't had to learn it yet.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be me or V that are the
probably going to be you,
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let's hug the T-Rex next time.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to save that T-Rex.
He's still out there somewhere, kind of, maybe.
Good thing you shirked that blast, Armando.
Exactly. What you didn't see is the T-Rex popped out a jetpack and flew to safety. So we're going to see him in Chapter 5.
What?
Spoilers. Exactly. And last but not least, we of course have our mighty heroic tank that saved so many lives this round. Before he even talks, let's round of applause for our tank.
Hey!
Selfless, heroic, mighty. Donnie, please share with us. Armando, would you be so kind as to share with us what was your ulterior motive for Chapter 2?
My alternative motive was to have lots of camera shakes and lens flares. No, I'm joking.
Mission accomplished, 100%.
My actual alternative motive was to basically, it was not my character's alternative motive, it was me playing the character's alternative motive, was basically to take my banner up to 50% black. So there's a mechanic I have going on that if I do a bad deed, then it covers the banner by 10%. So just trying to build it up over time.
That's interesting.
I like that.
You hit the 50%, or was it?
I just hit the 50%. That was me trying to push you overboard. That was the last time.
Oh, okay. I'm glad I could.
Yeah, I was like, he's up to no good.
I felt it, but I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt just one time.
Let's take a moment to appreciate that level of gameplay, because it's practical in the world, because it actually affects how he looks. His ribbon there changes in appearance, and it directly ties into his character's motivations and actions. That is so cool. That is so cool, Donnie.
It also gives the opportunity for a redemption story.
Yes.
Which is really powerful.
Gee, I wonder what will happen in Chapter 3.
Everyone dies. Sorry.
No heals.
100% black.
That's right. All right.
No redemption.
Spoiler alert: Armando's the actual villain.
Armando's the villain.
How did I not see this?
Hey, can we take a moment to celebrate how freaking awesome that scene on the boat between Leo and Armando was?
That was good.
I mean,
Like double reversal. I'm like,
I thought that was amazing.
I was just watching like this, like, what are they gonna do next?
Just the whole thing, him even bringing me up there to do that, it was good. I thought.
Mine personally was all the double ones. Like right in critical moments, like let's all roll
so
one.
Bad.
One.
I rolled 3 ones in a row.
I know.
Torture.
Torture. That is number generator failure. It's not odds.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, this does indeed conclude our second week. We are 2/3 of the way done with our trilogy, and we look forward to seeing you all next week for another action-packed adventure, and we will see you then. Bye-bye, everyone.
If you want to help us build the world of hope together, please consider supporting us on Patreon. To connect with other heroes, join us on social media. To explore the world of Terrath and create your own legend, visit heroesofprovidenceeternal.com.